Good.
Yeah, we're good. Well, we're live.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 405 of Canadian Patriot Podcast. Haven't messed that up in a while.
Yeah, we're kicking it old school. Yeah.
One more. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 405 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada. We're recording on the 25th of September, 2023.
We need your help. To support Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 an episode. That's right, $1 an episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right.
This takes us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? It's where we have plausible deniability and talk about things we've done in the Patriot Challenge. As is tradition, we'll start with Liz. Liz, what are you drinking?
Drinking tequila with some tonic water and lime.
Nice.
Yep.
Tequila and tonic. That does sound much better than gin and tonic.
A lot better. Yeah.
I like both of them. I just thought I'd shake it up
For
a
the
little.
tonic.
I would, yeah. The next thing I would do with that drink is replace the tonic with something like, I don't know, lime juice.
Well,
More tequila.
Yeah.
Or more tequila.
So-
Yeah.
it's decent. Like you can't really see. It's just like tonic and then a whole bunch of frozen limes. Like it's nice.
Yeah.
But it's the closest I'm gonna get to like, being somewhere in Mexico drinking bottomless beverages
That's fair.
for a while. So I was
Depends on the
just
resort.
feeling it. Yeah, it's got a little bit of the resort vibe. So that's what I was going for.
Cool.
I haven't looked at the Patriot Challenge in a while, so I couldn't tell
Same
you.
things as always.
I know, but I
Exercise.
forget every time. I have to look it up. I'm like,
Exercise,
what did I
read a
do?
book, drink your water.
Oh yeah, I've done
Exercise-
all of those things. The water I'm always behind on, but
Tonic water?
it's true.
It's
Just
not.
me.
You mixed it with alcohol, so it's
I know,
not.
it's
but-
really not. I know. No, I drank water today. I just don't drink the expected amount. So that's
2
all.
liters.
Yeah,
a
that's a lot.
normal sized person should be drinking 2 liters plus more if you're exercising, plus more if you're like me and are built for comfort and not for speed, plus more if you're outside and the weather is hot or if it's dry, or there's a bunch of other factors, but like you should drink water. It's
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just not great at it. I forget to do it until I'm thirsty. And then my brain's like, oh, yeah, you should drink water. So,
Don't you always find it funny? It's hard to drink 2 liters of water, but like a 12 pack after a long day goes down like water.
I don't have that problem either. Like, I just don't.
I would
It's
just
just
take
call
on
it a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
still get
I
up
don't
for work
have
in the
that
morning.
habit either.
I mean, I'd much rather drink a couple beers than a water, but
I don't think it's been a long time since I've had multiple beers back to back. So it's a little heavy these days.
yeah, me too. Like about a week actually.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anyways, Gavin, what about you?
I am drinking Canadian Club and watermelon Kool-Aid this evening because I was thinking that there was some Diet Pepsi in the fridge, and I went to go to the fridge and someone drank all of my Diet Pepsi on me. But
Like, is someone looking at himself in a video screen?
no, somebody else that lives in the house. Not to name names, but I
Got
did
it.
drink all of my water. Here's my 2 liters of water in my giant water bottle for the day.
It's a very
But the-
tactical water bottle.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
saw
Does
it.
it
and I was
have its
like,
own bulletproof vest? Is that what's going on there?
It's got like a little sleeve thing to like carry it. Yeah.
It
It's
seems
like,
like,
I saw
most of
that-
the gear on it probably weighs more than the water it's carrying.
No, the bottle itself is pretty heavy. It's one of those like double walled insulated things to
Mm.
keep my water cold. But I saw it and I was like, that is ridiculous. I need to have this for the range. So
Yeah.
did that. Also did the army run the other day. That sucked.
How'd
Running
that go?
sucks. Running sucks. but I did better than I thought I would. 5K and just shy of 45 minutes.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
Nice.
That's good.
Better than I can
So-
do.
Oh, for
So,
sure, better than I can do.
I know Andrew's
Not
got
that
me
it's a
by like,
contest, but
10
not
minutes
better
or
than I can
something.
do.
but yeah, Andrew's got me by like 10 minutes or something like that. But given that I couldn't really tell you the last time I did run was, I'll take it.
Yeah,
At 42, I will take running 5K in 45 minutes with no warm up, no stretching. Just so I got to go do this thing. So I'm going to go do this thing. I'll take
Nice.
it.
Ah,
there you go. Good for you.
I see.
Yeah. Pierre?
As per usual, I'm drinking the whiskey, some water tonight. Patriot Challenge. Since we're packing up the house, I'm finding a bunch of shit that I bought that I was like, that would be good to put in a go bag or do the truck, which means I get distracted from packing because I found a bunch of stuff I want to do, which is mostly practical. But so doing that, staying on top of the water, trying to be a little less douchier to most people is not going great.
You're
But I
moving.
feel
Now's
like
the
I'm-
time to up the douchey. You're not going to see these people again. Be as douchey as
Yeah.
you want to be.
It's true.
I'm sure
Like
you're
a
not
movement, I-
talking about your neighbors. You're probably talking about your coworkers and your clients, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, we can have a conversation about specific neighbors, but
Oh, no, no, no.
for the most part, no, I'm okay with my neighbors. They kind of keep to themselves. I keep to myself, and they knock on the door when they need help with fixing their cars. And then I knock on the door because I'm like, yeah, we're having people over, probably gonna be loud and rowdy. But yeah,
I mean, you
just
give them
trying
a
to
heads
not.
up. You
yeah.
didn't like that.
Yeah. So Pierre knocks
Yeah.
on their door like every day or so. They knock on his like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's a give and take.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just doing that, getting everything packed up, organizing, cleaning, and I'm trying to get rid of as much as possible that we don't want at the new place. So I'll have to move it there and then get rid of it. But yeah, that's about it for me. What about you, Andrew?
I have also recently completed the army run. I completed the commander's challenge. And if I ever have opportunity to meet the commander of the Canadian Army, I am going to tell him what an absolute jerk he was. So it was not a good time for me. I did not enjoy it. I much like Gavin, got up, went, I guess I should do this, and then went out and did it. And unlike Gavin, I can tell you exactly the last time I ran. It was June of last year.
Oh, yeah, but you've been like biking and you're always getting your steps in. So
Getting your steps in and running, I don't know if those are
Yeah.
entirely
They don't
interchangeable.
interswap.
It's
No, they don't.
that's
don't-
not
I mean,
true.
it doesn't
That-
hurt.
Yes, it does not hurt.
But
Unlike running, which does.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
quads are a little sore still.
So I did my 5K. I beat Gavin handily.
Yeah.
It was not a good 5K time, but whatever. Win's a win.
Yeah.
35-minute 5K.
That's not a bad 5K time.
It's not a good 5K time. It's
No,
Who
some
are
of
you
them were
comparing
like
yourself to? Other
myself.
people?
the other
My-
people on the internet that
My,
Yeah.
my
Posted
best
the
5K
Olympics.
time is like 25
ridiculous.
minutes.
Yeah,
Your
but even
best
some of
time
them
is
were
25 minutes?
Like my best time as an adult since having been out of the military and tracking this is like a somewhat broken person. I don't know what my 5K time was when I was in the army. I'm sure it was whatever they made
But
us do.
still, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
But-
Some of those times those people were
Whatever.
posting were insane, like 14 minutes or something ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there are like
Yeah.
professional runners or like people that marathon run and do ultra marathon. And I'm sure there's a bunch of like good runners in this. So,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people that
Oh,
posted
yeah.
really good times. Me, not so much.
Yeah.
10K. So Wednesday, I did the 5K. Thursday, I did the 10K. That took me an hour and 20. Also, not, I don't think considered a good time for a 10K, but whatever, ran the whole 10K. So, it was slower. It was like a minute slower. And then Friday, I ran a half marathon.
What's
Yeah.
a half marathon?
21.1
21.1
kilometers.
It's such a weird number. But I guess because they do it in miles, I guess
Well,
originally.
but
Yeah.
marathon is a distance in Greece between 2 points.
Yeah.
So half of that is just like an arbitrary amount. And
Yeah.
in metric, it's 21.1 kilometers. It's not because it's
Yeah.
it's not double a 10K. It's like,
Well, and yeah, the original
Ancient history
distance
thing.
wasn't sort of an arbitrary
Double a 10
distance as
and a little
well.
bit more.
Yeah.
So you did 5, then 10, then a half marathon?
yeah. So I did
All in the
5K,
same week.
10K, and then 21K 3 days in a
That's-
row because I'm
that's-
yeah.
smart.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Like,
It was truly a terrible
The
experience.
5K sounded awful, and then you just kept adding
Yeah.
to it, and I was like, pass.
But I did it. I did it.
I mean, I don't feel bad for you. Like you say,
I
it
feel bad
sucks,
for me.
but
Don't worry.
yeah, like yeah, like the 5K. I mean, yeah, sure, but like all of the other things, I'm like, that sounds like horrible. And yeah, just you're a sucker for plummet punishments.
I mean, yes, but at the same time,
You got a pin.
I did it, which was kind of impressive. So I went out and I did the 5K, and like, you know, I, unlike Gavin, I stretched and I warmed up and I like listened to like my Psych Myself Up playlist for like half an hour. And then I finally went out the door and I started running, and I was like, oh, I'm like halfway done. This is actually not awful. Like I wasn't enjoying it, but I wasn't dying.
Yeah.
So I got halfway and I turned around and I came back and everything was reasonably good. So I stretched and had a beer and felt kind of bad for myself, but like, hey, I didn't die and that was okay. And I woke up the next day and didn't feel awful. So I'm like, well, I'll stretch and listen to my Psych Myself Up playlist again and do it again, and ran the entire 10K, which again, didn't expect to do that because I like ran the first 5K. I'm like, well, that's as far as I
Terrible.
went yesterday. So
Yeah,
like,
that's-
it was awful, but like haven't died yet. So, you know, and I was being very conscientious of my heart rate while I was doing that. I have the smartwatch and I was like, oh, getting close to 150, need to slow down. Otherwise I'll die. It was like, you remember Speed? They had to keep the bus above like 80 miles
Yes.
an hour. It was like the
Yeah.
opposite of that.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's
You had to keep
that's
it
too
under
fast.
80 kilometers or
Yeah, exactly. It was like every time it got up to 150, I was like, ooh, that is too fast. So I wasn't watching my pace. I was watching my heart rate, because if I ran faster, like everything started to hurt.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, so as long as I like stay in this heart rate zone, I can actually do this. It's not bicycling, but it's like transferable concept, right? Because I don't really watch my speed when I ride my bicycle. I watch my heart rate
Mm.
and like stay in my target zone. So I guess all of the bicycling I've been doing over the summer, I actually have developed like some cardiovascular fitness.
Yes.
Nice. That will do
That's
it.
the whole point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole point is also probably overcoming like all of the old injuries and actually being able to run and do a bunch of other things that I haven't been
Yes.
able to do.
But
Yes.
you know, doing low impact exercise on a bicycle will also help with that.
Very likely. So ran the 10K. We got up Friday
Nice.
and I was a little sore. And I was like, well, I signed up for it. I guess I should do it. I did not run the entire 21.1 kilometers. I
Yeah.
ran the first like 15 kilometers and then I felt kind of bad for myself and some things hurt, like my knee and my ankles and one of my calves. Like a couple of my old injuries were screaming at me. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna walk for like just until my heart rate goes down to like 130, like into the like
Yeah.
the level 2 zone, right? Non-aerobic activity. And I was like, when it gets down there, I'll start running again. And I was like, okay, that's not so bad. Things still hurt, but like, all right. So I did that for a while. I'd run like a kilometer and then I'd walk for a minute or two until I got down to that 130 beats a minute again. And it was okay for like 2 or 3 kilometers. But then I think I actually died for a minute when I got to 17. It's like things did not feel good. It was very uncomfortable. The walking did not help. But then I got to like 19. I was like, well, whatever. I can basically see the house from here. I'm just going to run home as fast as possible. And if I die, I die. because I'd already died once at that point. So I figured, like, if just carry on the trend, right?
I guess. Yeah. Good for you. I'm impressed. I'm like tired just listening to you talk about it. So
It was not the most fun ever. I think credit
it's
to
a
the
lesson in
bicycle.
fortitude.
Well, and that was so. This is the point that I was arriving at in a very long-winded way. A lot of credit to this. I think 75 hard.
Yeah, for sure.
I can do
Yeah.
difficult things because I'm stupid.
Yes.
100%.
I'm glad that was the takeaway.
Yeah. Sounds
I
about
am
right.
thick-headed and therefore capable of excellence.
Yeah.
Or at least in this case, I am capable of great mediocrity, and I ran a 3-hour half marathon.
Yeah, but
Which,
I thought
again,
still,
not a good time, not a good, like,
But he
not
did it.
pleasant for me, nor a good result.
Yeah.
Better than what I
Yeah.
could do.
I was gonna
100%.
say of all the things though, like
Can I drive a half marathon?
I don't think it's
I
called
mean,
a marathon then.
Sure, but it's not
yes,
a marathon
just
anymore.
called
That's
going
just
around the
driving.
block.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then you do better than I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the
There you
most
go.
fun ever, but whatever.
You have
Credit to
something to
75
work
hard, I think.
towards next year then, right? You have a benchmark
Yeah,
to beat.
yeah.
So I might. I have not decided yet. I
You've
might
gotta-
run more.
Oh,
Oof.
okay.
I would do
Well,
at
'cause-
least more biking.
I didn't. Well, so I'm almost 1,000 kilometers in on this bike. So I got my
Yeah.
bike about Canada Day, like the 4th of July. So just after Canada Day.
So American
And-
Canada Day.
Yeah.
No, like 3 days after Canada Day.
Yeah, like American one.
Sure. Well, just for simplicity's sake, yes.
Okay.
So I'm 1,000 kilometers in on this bicycle now,
Nice.
which not inconsequential, not amazing, but
No. Yeah. There
feel
it
like
definitely
it-
helped.
There's a
Alright, so-
significant amount in a short period of time.
My bike is
Yep.
still sitting in the barn, so it sounds really good to me.
Mine's
I mean,
still
that's
sitting
not
at
a
the store
terrible
because I haven't
place.
fucking bought one.
Oh,
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So I've had a few drinks, but did you tell us what you're drinking? Because I got a feeling you went
Oh.
right in. You skipped over what you were drinking and went right into
Facts.
this is what I did.
okay.
facts. Well, because
Beer.
I didn't want to forget that I beat Gavin, you see,
That's fair.
That's fair.
because
And
everything
the-
is a contest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which definitely overshadows the beer of Danish Kings.
No,
okay. Is that
everything
what that
a
is? I was
contest.
gonna say you're gonna have to explain that to me. I've never heard of
It's a decent beer. I'm not a
Yeah.
beer person, but
I
I,
mean-
did get a giant mug with a giant can that fit in the
Yeah.
mug that you poured in the mug to drink.
Yeah.
And it's a decent beer. I mean, it was a long time ago, but
They
it's
make
decent beer.
at least two different ones though. I believe that's the regular strength one.
Yeah, well, so this is
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the premium, the 5%. The amber, I think, is a better beer. I prefer the Fax Amber.
Yeah,
color is
it's
that
pretty
can?
good. It's like a ready gold
Orange,
kind of.
gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't they have a green can as well?
Yes. And the
Yes.
green one is like 10%.
10%. It is effectively
Yeah.
barley wine.
Yeah.
that. Sounds
Yeah.
delightful. If I'm
The
gonna drink one
Extra
beer,
strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I had the green
Yeah.
can.
If
the
you're
green
gonna
can.
drink one for the money, that's the best bang for your buck. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So did all of that. And then because my timing and planning is excellent, I took my M2 motorcycle course on the weekend and spent 2 days driving an hour and a half to the facility to take the course, and then driving an hour and a half home at the end of the day, both days, and spending all day
Nice.
outside in a parking lot cooking in a leather jacket and helmet.
Nice. Did
Nice.
they have you on the dirt bikes or were they like the
Uh,
little cruiser ones?
So I was riding a little cruiser one, but they had lots of choices. Where I went, they had really little Kawasaki's that I was incredibly uncomfortable on because
Like
it was like riding a
150s.
clown car.
Yeah.
it's stupid.
They were
Was
like
it a pocket
15s
bike?
Maybe it
Yeah.
Was
may
it a
as well-
pocket bike?
No, it's
I
not a
have
pocket bike
dinner
because that's
plates with
No,
bigger
they're-
wheels.
when I
They're all
did
in
mine
that,
like
like-
10 years ago. That's
Yeah.
what we did. We only had those ones. We didn't have options.
No,
Yeah.
well,
all
I
I
had
had was
options,
like
and I
dirt
tried
bikes.
all of the options.
Yeah, they're usually kind of in that like 115 to 150 cc ish range. They don't go any bigger than that,
Yeah,
really.
No, they're.
I
it
think
was
we were, like-
150s. They were 150s.
I think we were on like 125 cc dirt bikes
Mm.
when I did mine.
That's funny.
I ended up spending most of my weekend on a Yamaha 250, a V-Star, like a cruiser style.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Nice.
Nice.
But I tried a bunch of other ones, Honda CBR and some sort of little Kawasaki and Yamaha TU 200, TW 200. It's like a dirt bike looking kind of a
I was
bike.
Yeah.
gonna say that sounds a little bit like a dual sport, maybe.
Yeah. So I tried a couple of the options, but yeah, 2 days M2 course success. One more Yahoo on the road with a motorcycle.
Well, it sounds
There you
like
go.
most of us having our licenses, we're going to need to do a CPC or CPP bike club. Not a motorcycle club, because then we'd be a gang, but a riding club, a riding association.
Which bike do I need? Can I bring my pedal bike?
I was gonna say.
Sure,
It's
but
like,
you're going to have a hard time keeping up.
we
But if you
sold
do, that's really good for your cardio.
we sold all the motorcycles in our family like 5 years ago, except for my brother-in-law. He like rebuilds them for fun and does
Well,
like
you can borrow
off-road
one.
stuff.
There you go.
That's fine.
I mean, I could,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
you know,
So it's been a busy week since last podcast.
yeah, but that's
is my-
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for
That's my
you.
takeaway. Do hard
Yeah.
things, practice new skills, drink lots of water, take heat precautions and sun precautions because it's hot outside and
I was
you get
gonna
sunburned
say,
and then you
you
turn red.
kind of look like you got some sun there, sir.
I got a little bit of sun.
It matches your
That is-
t-shirt though. I kind of feel like you're beach vibing it. Yeah.
Very Miami Vice.
Yeah. I was like, the sun, the shirt. Andrew's like, you know.
Well, we can't
Beach
all
and
be
vibes.
bottomless in Mexico, but we can drink beer like we are.
We're not
Huh.
supposed to be bottomless.
We're not supposed to be bottomless at all.
As long as
thought
you don't
we
move
were
your
doing
camera down.
bottomless drinks in Mexico. I thought that was the
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Drink-
Totally
drinking-
slipped my
Drinking
mind.
while bottomless
Like,
is
just-
totally a thing. It's fine.
All right, we're talking different bottoms. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It could be both. It could be bottomless
well.
and
This
endless.
is becoming awkward.
No,
Yes.
when I refer to bottomless, I refer to like bottomless glasses.
Well, how do you keep
Oh.
your drink in?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Maybe we
Yeah,
should
exactly.
talk about some other awkward things that happened.
Yeah.
All
there's a
right.
few.
Where did the prime minister get stuck this week? It's like Weird Waldo. Where's Waldo, but worse.
Well, yeah, I guess he did, well, I guess he didn't really get stuck anywhere, but we had a visitor this week.
that's too bad.
Oh gosh.
Yes. Oh,
We had a visitor. He's maybe not so well known, but you may have heard of this guy called Zelensky from a place called the Ukraine.
Never heard
Yeah.
of it.
Well,
Nobody had before like 2 years
Yeah.
ago either.
anyways, apparently they're at war with Russia,
Apparently.
and this guy has come here to visit Trudeau. I don't know how you can go like jet setting about the world when there's a war going on, like especially like an active real war.
I
Mhm.
mean,
But so-
probably the same way that we spent 20 years while Canadians were in Afghanistan fighting.
Yeah, but you know, that was over there, not here. But anyways, he came here for
I
a
mean, that's
visit.
over there, not here.
That's true.
It's-
Yeah. But yeah, he came here to visit and they had a joint session of parliament. So the
What kind of joint?
not the fun kind.
Okay.
Bill Clinton was not there. His money, however, is probably in the Ukraine. But anyways, this guy comes and he gets up and he speaks, you know, in this thing where like his quote is this Russian aggression must end with our victory. That's what he told the House of Commons the other day. After painting apparently a grim picture of the kinds of horrors seen on the streets in the last 19 months that they've been at war.
I keep on seeing photos that are quite contrary to that.
It
So I'm
just-
having a hard time knowing what is real.
well, yeah,
None of it. It's all propaganda.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that you want to believe that that is
like-
what we know because it's like, okay, propaganda machine.
But then
is
everyone
nice
in
and
the
strong.
Ukraine seems to be going about their daily lives and living their lives without any
Well, I'm
real
sure.
impact.
Don't get me wrong. I am sure that there is like casualties and innocent civilians wrapped up in this, but it's very challenging to trust
Well-
what's being told to us, and that cheapens the people that are.
Well, especially
You know,
when
impacted.
at the beginning of the whole thing, there was the ghost of Kiev, the fighter
Oh, yeah,
pilot
whole
that
thing,
did all
yeah.
that. Then it was just like, oh, that's just video game footage. And then there was the whole thing about the guys on Snake Island, that whole thing was made up, and a bunch of other things that have come out that are made up. So yes, it is hard to believe
Yeah.
what is and is not happening in the
So
other
you're
side of the
telling me
world.
the government is just producing propaganda?
I'm not saying they're just producing
It's
propaganda,
very
but
hard to tell. That's what I'm saying.
they are producing an awful lot of propaganda.
Well, it's a good thing that no government would have ever done this at any other point in history, and this is an entirely revelatory event.
Right.
Yes, but yes, the government is not just producing propaganda. They're producing propaganda and doing a bunch of other dumb stuff.
Like,
Yeah, like
siphoning
giving
all the
away our
tax
goddamn
dollars to
fucking money.
Ukraine.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Pierre stole my
So-
line, but that's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
like fuck, like
So-
fucking. Why the fuck we giving so much money? Like, how about we just send a few fucking drones and like bomb a bunch of shit, save ourselves a fuckload of money. Like we're
Yeah.
sending $650 million. How much have we already sent?
I mean,
How many of other
so-
fucking countries?
Yes,
Pledged.
but counterpoint.
What the fuck?
How about
Tell
instead
us how
of
you
sending
really
them,
feel.
how about instead of sending them drones and like droning people, we just don't get involved?
That's a thing that
that's
I
that's a
struggle with
novel
little bit.
idea.
Yeah,
I
like,
mean, we could not give them money or drones or artillery pieces or have troops in Belarus. No, where not Belarus. Where's the Canadian mission that's out right now? It's Latvia.
Yes,
So we could
Latvia.
not we could
Yes.
not be in Latvia harassing the Russians.
almost sounds like
So-
labia.
So this is my thing. So if we're going to
I mean,
give
I
them another
guess.
650, was it billion, million,
Million.
million on top of whatever we've already done,
On top of what they've gotten from
every other
predominantly the Americans, but let's just say
Oh,
everyone
gosh.
at this point.
Yeah, let's just say
Lit-
everyone. So-
literally every other country in the world except for Russia has been giving this guy money.
So
How much money is it going to cost to get victory? That's my question.
Let's
All of it.
talk about how we can stop starvation in the world. How much money would it take? Because I just feel like there seems to be a lot of money floating around.
No, I mean, it's
Yeah,
like-
but most of those don't involve white people, so nobody cares.
yeah, but like, I
But
just
that's not true. There's pretty high like homeless and like there's big problems in North America
Yeah,
now
but
with this
being homeless and being starving are two different things.
and we don't seem to care about those things either. All we want to do
No.
is give all of our money and all of the
So,
things.
Like,
that was kind of the
What's
point
this
I was
we
getting
business?
to.
I never voted to give Ukraine.
no.
money.
So
I
how
didn't
much
even
have we?
vote to give taxes though, so let's be real.
Yeah,
But how much money have we
Ah.
given to you? Well, just in general, right? Like Ukraine has gotten a fucking billions of dollars from all these
Oh,
countries.
billions
So-
from around the world.
so-
yeah,
You know, Russia taking over Ukraine. Fine, the narrative is that it's bad. So we have given billions and billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine to prevent Russia taking Ukraine. Now, I'm at the
Okay.
point where I'm like, we want to send another 650 million.
Okay, so
what
I'm
does
just reading here quickly. So, detailing allocations of a previous committed 500 million. So we already committed 500 million, and now we're committing another 650
So we're
million.
over a billion.
That's good. What do we get for our $1 billion that we're up to? Do we get anything for our $1 billion?
Well, we got many, many, many thanks from
dear.
Zelensky. That's what he did. Where is it here? There's a quote somewhere about all of this. I'm trying to find it now.
I just like
Mm.
read something that pisses me right off. Oh,
Sending more armored vehicles as well as mental health charity funding boosts. That's the other dickhead. That's talking. Never mind. But yeah, there was a thing where he like repeatedly thanked us. I would fucking hope so after we're committed to sending this guy $1 billion on top of everything else that he's already got.
So for this amount of money, like what does Ukraine bring to Canada as a trading partner of some sort?
I think
Or
it's
what
just that
benefit?
I don't know
Well-
about that. Besides the corrupt, business dealings that everybody participates in,
Yeah, so like
part of me
can we
thinks that it's like
Well, I mean, I'll
the
allude
enemy
to
of
a
my
later
enemy is my
article.
friend.
I'll
right?
allude to
Yeah,
a
but,
later
like,
article.
I
The
would
one thing
prefer-
they did bring was an actual Nazi, but
Yeah. No,
That-
but the
that's for
whole
later.
I truly
What?
think that it's a little bit of like
I love
the
Ukraine
enemy
now.
of
Go
my
on.
enemy is my friend. So
Yeah,
they
but
just
is-
don't really want Russia because that's the thing is that
Is Russia really our enemy though?
I
So
think
I would
think
argue
it's
they're
like
no more my enemy than Ukraine is.
I know that, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people understand that Putin is ungovernable.
Yeah,
So
but
if
that's not
he,
my fucking problem.
No Russian oligarch ever tried to lock up my financial
Yeah, but-
Yeah.
transactions because I supported protests in my own country.
yes, but that is different. We recognize that.
Because
We are talking
we're all
about
Canadian.
no, but we're talking about
Well-
people that crave power. Like I was just reading this in the article here. It says Trudeau says he knows it's an economically difficult time for Canadians and crises have multiplied since the COVID-19 pandemic. But this support to Ukraine is about helping people get through these hard times too, because of what the consequences would be if Russia was victorious.
What
So
would the consequences be?
A
They would
couple of
annex-
things.
It's $1
Well,
billion
just a couple
back in our
things.
fucking bank account is the only thing I
Exactly.
see out of this.
So the
Well-
problem that I see in this statement is that it has nothing to do with the Ukraine. It has to do with some like Trudeau's just
Sure.
on a bandwagon of be afraid of Putin because he cannot be controlled.
Yes,
Okay,
but this
whatever.
is the
That's
part
fine.
that's
But
super
it's
annoying.
also
Is
what? It's
I,
also-
like, so-
I don't understand this whole can't be controlled. He's the head of a nuclear armed country. No one's trying to put like control over the American president or the British prime minister, or is it
Yeah,
the
but-
Indians or the Pakistanis that have got nukes?
both of them probably.
I don't know. It's
Honestly.
probably part of their fucking heritage for hunting, for all I know, or different
Other
Indians.
Indians,
Other
but-
Indians, yeah.
Okay, my bad. Right. So like my
Common
whole
mistake.
issue with this, yeah, my mistake. So like we've sent $1 billion over. If
Yeah.
fine, you know,
Well, in the
Let's
next
not
at the
talk
end of 3
politics.
years, it'll be $1 billion. Yeah.
yeah. So let's not talk about being, you know, Russia being douchebags and taking over Ukraine. What does Ukraine bring anything to Canada? Do we do any trade with them? Is there any benefit of them not becoming part of Russia?
I'm sure that
Um,
there is a big trade. 'Cause
yeah,
they've got
there-
a big like.
I
they've got a big
doubt it's a
market for
trade
both-
worth $1 billion fucking dollars.
So here's the thing: what they
Well,
provide, we can also provide in-house, but the Canadian government chooses to not allow that.
So,
So let's keep the
I
$1 billion.
mean-
Let Russia fucking take it.
my
And
my
then we
hot
can
take-
fucking we can point our finger at them and say you're bad. Like there's
we're already
nothing
saying
good
they're bad.
coming out of this
Yeah,
I'm still
other
not
than
convinced that
my
they're actually bad.
grandchildren's paying more
Yeah.
fucking taxes. We're
But so-
lending money that none of us will ever fucking pay in taxes. And we are just throwing money at solutions that have absolutely nothing to do with it. We are telling veterans and people that have served this country in stupid fucking wars that we have decided to
this
have
one,
with
yeah.
other countries. This one and the one previous to that we pulled out shit the bed on. But we are
But-
giving them the option of, hey, would you rather kill yourself than keep trying to get better to be a member of the society
Well-
you fought so hard to be, you know, to defend in certain
Yeah.
scenarios? It's frustrating, it's annoying, and I want my fucking $1 billion back.
Well, so you're asking like what are the things that like Ukraine has to offer and all of this, and so my hot take on this is the things that I'm going to tell you you're not going to like, and they don't benefit us, but they benefit the people in power. So what is the Ukraine known for? Money laundering,
Hookers.
I was gonna say corrupt.
like
business.
corrupt money laundering, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the worst offenders for human trafficking, and that most people that have been human trafficked at some point have passed through the Ukraine, which includes not just adults but minors.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what are we doing? So all of these people in all of these positions of power that may or may not have been to Epstein's Island, we don't know because we haven't seen the list yet, may be part of the people that are
And
sending the billions of dollars over there to benefit this thing. So I'm not saying that is it. I'm just saying it is
it's-
plausible.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely within the realm of possibilities.
Because there's
and I
nothing
won't-
else we're getting from there other than like, I don't know.
Well, it's like grain and oil, but again, we have all that stuff. We
And I
just-
won't be
like
completely
it's
ungrateful
misused.
either, because some of the flower arrangements we got for our wedding, Mel found online and we purchased, and they did come from Ukraine, even though they were in this crazy war where
Yeah, it's
everything was
weird
on.
that
They
they were
still
able
had
to
a
come from there.
fantastic bouquets the one that was on the arch, the one Mel had,
Oh
the
yeah,
one
that
I
was a
had,
really
and
pretty
everything.
one.
Yeah, like
Super weird that
that-
they were able to do that while they were all
yeah,
at war.
like we
Yeah.
bought everything, and when they showed up, there's a nice little note. I'm like,
I
fuck,
am
that
not
came from
convinced that
Ukraine.
just because a country's military is involved in a special police action, it's not technically a war. Special police action.
Wow.
I'm not convinced that the rest of the country's businesses don't go on. Not everybody
Yeah.
contributes to the war effort. Not everybody is involved in the military or being at war. 20 years in this country, we were in Afghanistan, and
What's
everybody
affecting
still
us?
played hockey and went to the mall.
Oh, I
Unless you were
know,
one of
but-
like the 100,000 Canadians that
this
went
is
to
the-
Afghanistan.
This
Yeah,
is the
but
thing,
I ordered
the
a
way that
product
they've-
from that country, not from a country participating in it.
Mhm.
I
That's
understand.
the-
That's,
I'm
those are
saying
two. Those
I know,
are two
but when
different
you-
Ukraine
things.
is not
when
a
you listen-
small.
No, but when you listen to the way that they do this and the way that it sounds like, oh my God, we need all this money because this guy is walking
Because
around to.
It might be propaganda.
Well, yeah, and that's what
I
I'm
mean-
getting. It's like the way that he's spinning it and walking around with his hand out to like literally everybody. It makes it sound like Russia has encircled the entire country and is invading and bombing. Like it is quite literally Red Dawn, like the good Red
Yeah.
Dawn, not the remake of Red Dawn,
Yeah, I
but
know.
not just in one city, in all of the cities around the Ukraine.
Yeah,
You know, so
That's what it sounds like.
in my personal opinion, the giveaway that this is a little bit, I'm gonna say a little bit,
Exaggerated.
with a lot of room for exaggeration, is that this is a theatrical production. Is just the dead giveaway to me is his change of clothes. Like Zelensky went from being in a suit, and now all he wears is like
Yeah.
bush clothes.
Yeah.
Knockoff
But I mean,
511s.
Expensive stuff. I was gonna say expensive shit, but like his wife even dressed up for the trip, and he's in like khakis and shit and combat boots. I
Yeah,
mean,
so it's like he doesn't
squeaky
have a
clean.
suit sitting around somewhere.
Right.
It's
still.
almost as though we have an entire generation of people that have been raised on 3-second videos, and they need to be
Yeah.
constantly reminded that
Yeah.
the evil Russians
Yeah.
are at war
Well, so
with
that's
the
the
peace-loving
thing.
Ukrainians.
Is that
because we need
it's-
to dumb this down for the proles to be able to understand which team we're on.
And again, personally, I'm just extremely skeptical. I don't know enough about all the situation to say, it's 100% false or 100% not. I don't know where on that spectrum it lies. But either way, I am now at the point in my life that I just don't trust anything
Yeah.
that comes.
But I mean, and
at-
this is the part that drives me crazy here. So like the Trudeau gets up, and one of his quotes in this thing is in this era of uncertainty and of resurgent great power competition, rules are what will protect us.
Ugh.
History will judge us on how we defend democratic values. And Ukraine is at
Russia's
the
a
tip of-
democracy now. Did they not
Ukraine
get the
is at the
message?
tip of the
Like,
spear, but not even that. So he's going to the Ukraine to defend democracy, right? So even if this whole Russian
okay, so what about the
invasion
Oblast
thing
that
is
voted to leave the Ukraine and got denied?
yes,
Yeah.
Or what about
Was
I
that
don't
not a
know,
real democracy?
trashing all of the people's democratic rights and things in your own fucking country during COVID, during
Yeah.
everything else that has happened?
Yeah. Well, and
But I'm
that was the
I'm
thing
gonna-
about this
Russian
that
oligarchs
pissed me
never
off
tried
is
to
he
shut
was-
down all of my financial transactions
Well-
because I supported a peaceful
Yes.
protest.
So, but that's the thing too, is that even just in that section that I read, he was saying, oh, we got to stick together. They're having a tough time too. And it's like, if you were, I don't know what the stats are, but if you were to, figure it
Right.
out, how many businesses closed because of COVID? And your
We would be
response to
having
that?
a lot less of a
in
tough time if he
Canada.
didn't fuck around and give away
Exactly.
all of our
But-
money, like not just this money, but all of the
Yeah.
money that he spent during COVID and doing
But just
dumb
be
shit.
irresponsible as a leader
Yeah.
as well. Like this is the problem, is that
But-
anything that is being supported directly by Trudeau, I literally it's automatic reaction, bad
Well,
idea.
it's that, yeah. but,
Automatic
like,
reaction is
he's-
bad idea.
He's standing up to India and telling them that they need to respect democracy and all of the things. He's committed $1 billion to the Ukraine to defend democracy there, but he doesn't give a fuck about democracy
No.
in his own country and people doing things that are not illegal
Yep.
and still getting penalized for it. Like
Oh,
that's the
it's-
part that's infuriating about
Yep.
this whole thing is that he gets up there and like grandstands and does all this virtue signal bullshit. But meanwhile, he does the exact opposite. And it's like, okay, so you're going to complain about Putin and a power struggle with Putin and trying to do all this, but look at your own fucking self, buddy.
Yeah.
Like you invoked the Emergencies Act for a fucking protest for a
Yep.
bunch of people that park trucks in front of the thing. Like,
Peacefully, though. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Peacefully. I have a friend who he does not really agree with me on politics at all, but and that's okay. We're good friends. We grew up together, but you know what he did say, and I just respect so much that he did. He said, "I don't care what you're protesting. Every time I see somebody protesting, I want to give them a round of applause. I'm very happy to see them."
Yeah.
He said, "That's your right and responsibility."
Yeah.
He's like, "That's how
And-
change happens. That's how people. That's how people communicate because." You're no longer able to vote with any effectiveness or things like that. It just doesn't work that way anymore. A lot of people don't vote, but a lot of people will show up and, participate in a protest that they believe in, right? Like the forum of public opinion is way, way more powerful. So it's important that you see that happen. And the fact that that got reduced and taken away and it was a very peaceful but powerful thing. It created, a wave of response across the world. And that should scare people because that
Well-
means that, individuals have spoken from the heart and a mass amount, I'm not going to say majority, a mass amount of people feel the same way. But how can memories be so short? It has been 2 years since those protests. And almost everybody has forgotten about that already. And we're watching him spout bullshit about how tough it is right now for the Ukrainians. And it's like, bro, where were you when, they started considering suicide as part of the COVID death stats because people were, affected so dramatically by isolation and by bankruptcy and, all that stuff. So it just
well, yeah. Just
blows
only-
my mind.
The only side thing I'll say is, am I the only one that when I hear Zelensky, I'm hoping someone is miss talking and they're talking about Kaczynski?
Oh gosh.
we can only hope. But I mean, yeah. So after he was in Ottawa, I'll get to the fun part about the Ottawa thing or whatever after. But he briefly stopped off in Toronto as well. So apparently this whole trip was supposed to be like super secure, super secret. Yet somehow there's like thousands of people that are at these events. It doesn't
Yeah, of
sound all
course.
that secret. So he was at Fort York here in Toronto the other day.
The pinnacle of Canadian military technology.
Yeah. So the original settlement. But in this article here, I'm reading quickly. So yes, the 650 million, but Canada has already contributed more than 8 billion in support to the Ukraine,
Oh, good.
including
yeah,
providing
somebody has
air
to give 'em
defense systems,
howitzers.
via shells, training of Ukrainian soldiers, and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, he was in Toronto as well, wearing the same like long sleeve tactical
Yeah.
polo and everything, with Trudeau, who's got his like white dress shirt, but with the sleeves rolled up and no tie because he's
'Cause
casual
he's working
like that.
hard. Exactly.
It's casual, but still professional. But yeah, I don't know. It was ridiculous. But the funny thing that came out of all of this. So during all of this, the Speaker of the House, was it? The House
Yeah.
Speaker
Yeah.
had a special guest that they brought up on stage.
Where
This-
did they find this guy? Did Zelensky bring him with him?
no,
this work?
so apparently it's at least if you believe what the media is telling you.
Yeah.
So take this all with a grain of salt. The Speaker of the House is
Kosher
the
salt?
one. I don't think in this case it is. In
Clearly
Zelensky's
not.
case, it is. This guy, not so much. But yes, the Speaker of the House apparently knows this guy because it's from his riding and
Okay.
has seen this guy at several pro-Ukraine events. And I guess in like casual conversation with this gentleman, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm from the Ukraine. I was in the military. I fought against the Russians in the war." So the guy was like, "That's amazing. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
you to come and speak in the
This,
house.
this is really impressive for a guy that's almost 100.
yeah.
It's like, oh no, not those Russians.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna
That
get
is
you to
just a
come and speak.
dumpster fire.
So like, and I can understand how there might be some confusion if you sort of take things at a base level, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
You're like, okay.
forget about the bad of history.
Like if you
Right,
talk to
like-
somebody that is like of a younger generation that hasn't learned about stuff yet, or like an older person that just maybe didn't graduate high school or
Yeah.
whatnot, that was not super aware of events, and you heard he was in the war, he fought against the Russians back then. It seems to like fit the narrative of what is cool right now, because that's what we're doing, right? We're fighting
Yeah,
the Russians again.
That's true.
But when you backtrack that, you go, okay, I wouldn't call the Russians our allies, but they were on our side during the last major war.
Yeah.
So if you were fighting the Russians, what
Until after
side
the
would
war.
that make you
Yeah.
during the war? Oh, right. And so very shortly after this, they realized that the gentleman that they had speaking and everyone was standing up and
Nazi?
applauding was not like a theoretical Nazi or whatever, like they're calling anyone that has any even remotely right-leaning concept or idea, belief.
No, but like an
Like
actual,
an actual, like a
card
literal-
carrying.
Well, I mean, it still may have been like not by choice per se, because they did conscript some people or whatever
for sure.
but you need to do this.
Yeah.
But he did have the
Uh,
uniform, and there are photos of him in uniform circulating on the internet now.
So
And
I
he
feel
certainly
Did he
like
did
wear the
conscripted-
uniform?
Getting
He did-
conscripted into the
Parliament.
German military while Germany is at war and you're a German is one thing.
Yeah.
Joining the
you're-
Waffen SS when you're
which
a
I
foreign
believe was a
national is
voluntary thing. But like,
I feel like that's an on purpose choice because it was.
Yeah.
It's not just that he like got drafted into the military. He joined
No.
the
And
SS.
there's a pretty
Yeah.
there's a pretty big difference between like being in Germany and getting wrapped up in, the socialist movement of the time and being a member of a country that got invaded when Hitler was starting to take over the Eastern Bloc. Like it's just a little
and
different.
then choosing to join,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean,
it's just a little different.
but even if
and
there was a little coercion, there,
it just
he-
did not
he
land
was
well.
Still, he was
This
still
whole thing did
like
not
a
land well.
a literal Nazi, like an actual
Yeah.
Nazi with the uniform, and there are photos of him in the uniform, and all the dickheads in Parliament and everything are all there, fucking clapping like circus
Standing
seals. Yeah.
ovation.
Oh yeah, like just
You
a
got
bunch
didn't
of
he get like
circus seals.
2 standing ovations or something? It's wild. Like, but that does speak to this whole idea of, like, I guess optics and, trying to present that image that, hey, we're aware, we're, and it just landing flat because there's no substance to it actually.
Yeah. Well, that and
that's,
I mean,
that's troubling to me, but it's not surprising.
but I mean, this is the other thing. Like, right, this is, and it ends up that like this guy's unit wasn't just one of those ones that was like, yeah, it's part of the thing, but they didn't do a whole lot. Like, there's a bunch of bad stuff that they did that is just directly associated to the unit that this guy was in.
Sorry, so
Yeah.
just to clear this up because I'm not super up on what's happened in politics this week, but you turn 30 and you pick a hobby and it's either grilling meat or World War II. And I
Yeah.
went both.
Yeah.
So this guy's like 14th Waffen SS, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
the Ukrainian volunteer
Yeah.
grenadier division of the SS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So the man from Ukraine volunteered to be in a grenadier division of the Waffen SS.
Yeah. And that particular one did a bunch of stuff that, yeah.
I mean, a lot of SS divisions did a lot of
Oh.
war crimes, but
Yeah. But like they seem
it's
to
a
be
war.
particularly
War
well
crimes
known.
happen.
But yeah, there were some other ones because I mean they had like the weird like Muslim SS unit in Albania, like the mountain division and whatnot, like, and they were all wearing fezzes with the death's head on it and everything. So like there's some
Seems-
weird-
That seems kind of counterintuitive for the SS
21st
and
Waffen
keeping.
division is
Yeah. yeah.
It-
But so there were some other ones that like, yeah, they were SS and they probably didn't do the nicest of things, but like as a whole, they didn't really do a lot. Right.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
but
But
this
he was a little,
particular
like,
one, but
boots on
this
the
one was
ground,
like
yeah.
an act, like a very active one. Because like the fighting in that part of Europe was pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, it's
But yeah.
wild. And
Yeah.
then but it just goes to show, like, I mean, it was at a time when stuff like that was maybe a little expected, whatever, I'm definitely not justifying anything. I think the takeaway for myself is it just reflects very much just how unrealistic our leadership is.
Well, and like the
Wild.
thing that's crazy about it is that while it was the Speaker of the House that found this person and suggested this person, it is the Prime Minister's office
Yeah. Who was
that
like,
is responsible
we
for
down.
vetting the people.
yeah.
So nobody like opened this guy's Wikipedia and was like, wait, so you were in like that SS?
That or they were like,
probably
okay,
don't
so hold
care,
on,
though.
what years were you fighting against the Russians?
I feel like this is like some
the
some
40s?
basic level
Hold on.
research that should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Like,
year
this seems like
specifically?
somebody didn't intern very good.
Yeah. Do you have a picture of yourself in service at the time?
Why
Wait,
are
wait,
you
hold on.
constantly waving? Why is every photo of you waving?
Hold on. Hans, are we the baddies?
This is
Like, oh, it's just insane.
our
And then
country
like
is a joke.
I know
Not a
because
good
you-
joke either. Like not
No.
a funny joke, like a Sarah Silverman joke.
Yeah. Yeah. But then like so
Well, I
now-
just think it's wild because now they've got the Jewish community just ripping them a new one,
Oh.
and I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting.
even Russia is blasting us.
I mean,
Right,
well,
Bad
I
when.
mean,
we deserve that.
And
Yes.
it's not even for the $1 billion we gave them.
oh gosh.
Yeah. Their quote was such sloppiness of memory is outrageous.
Which I
That's
mean,
very
it should
delicate.
be.
Yeah, I agree
Many
with
many
Russia.
Western countries, including Canada, have raised a young generation that does not know who fought whom or what happened during the Second World War.
Agreed.
And they know
And
nothing
again,
about
like-
the threat of fascism.
I'm on Team Russia for this. Like,
Yeah. And
Yep.
kudos to them. Because I mean, the whole premise of this invasion, or at least part of it, is that they are invading the Ukraine to rid them of their fascist Nazi elements.
Yes.
I
Maybe
mean,
they're just looking for the lost
Russian state
artwork.
propaganda. I remember reading that at some point because they
Yeah.
had the what was the Nazi regiment that's in the current Ukrainian military?
The
It's,
Azov.
the Azov battalion. Yes, those
Yeah.
guys. Because again, young people not understanding history, and they're like, "Well, cool logos though.
Yeah.
Really enjoying
that?
these Hugo Boss fits."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta look up this logo. What is it called?
Well, no, like
Uh,
no, they're
You're
like
looking
quite
for the
literally,
Azov battalion.
quite literally using swastikas and black suns and things that are very
They LARP
heavily.
as actual. They I those don't go together. Azov battalion LARPs as Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So they're
Is
like
this
a
this Azov
reserve
Brigade?
military.
Is that what
Yes.
I'm looking at?
Azov
Oh,
Brigade, Azov
Formation of the
battalion,
National Guard of
um,
Ukrainian, formerly based in.
Yes. So they're
Yeah.
like a reserve
Mariupol.
military, army reserve kind of.
Yeah, like a
Group.
volunteer thing, but that's actually been rolled up into the actual
Sure.
National Guard. And they're
That is for sure a
Yeah.
symbol.
Well, so like they're supposed to be gendarmes, right? So
I don't
they're
know what
like
that
a
means either.
European concept that we don't have in North America that's effectively like a national police force.
Okay.
So they're members of the
You know what?
military,
I've
but
always
they-
known this word reading it. I did not know how to say it. So good.
So like
I got it.
in Italy, it's like the carabinieri. That might be a pasta.
is that not a pasta?
Yeah,
I think that's a
I was about to say
carbonara.
that's pasta.
and it's
Yeah,
delicious.
carbonara. That's yeah.
Well,
Little
they have
cream
mostly
those,
with
sauce and
bacon.
bacon. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it's mostly
Although
with
in
bacon.
France,
Technically
they're
it's
actually just
pancetta,
the
but yeah.
gendarme. Like in France, it's the same word.
Yeah, Canada has one too.
Well, we don't.
yeah.
We sort of do. It's the RCMP, but they're
yeah.
not.
But yeah,
Yes,
they're the
that's where
police,
it's
but they're the
coming in.
military, but
Well,
they're
but-
neither, but they're both.
So the RCMP is. We've been over this before. The RCMP
Yeah.
is a regiment of dragoons, except that they're not because they're not members of the military. Where
Yeah.
the gendarme is
Yeah.
a military
That-
force that is acting with the authority of a police agency. It's very European.
Yeah.
That and the RCMP, while being a dragoon, they have dropped the first part of that, and they are just goons.
Yeah.
I thought being European just meant you didn't shave your armpits and legs. But
Well,
yeah,
no,
this
and
is
you
getting weird
measure
now.
things in a different set of units. But
Yeah.
anyway, yes. So Azov Battalion is supposed to be Gendarmerie. They're not really, and they've gotten absorbed into the reserve military of Ukraine.
Yeah.
But the point is they LARP as Nazis.
It's wild.
Quite
Like-
hard. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
LARP super hard. Like their logos are
Yeah.
like it's Nazi stuff.
Yeah. They
But I mean,
definitely
this
project
is
that vibe.
The thing that's so crazy though is that, like, when we had the Freedom Convoy and all of that, there was like the one guy that was quite obviously a plant.
Yes.
And even if he wasn't, it was like one guy out
Yeah.
of a million people. And now all of the people there are Nazis. But then here you have like Trudeau talking to India going, I get it. You're pissed off because there's a couple of like violent terrorists that are part of this organization, but we can't judge the whole group by the actions of one person.
And we invited one of them to talk
And
in
now
Parliament.
we've got like an actual Nazi that the same dickhead that said all of that is now like
Yeah.
his office vetted this guy, and they're all there like the trained circus seals standing up and clapping while this guy is talking.
You know that monkey with the symbols?
Yeah, but
I
like
feel like
somehow
that's-
they're all still the good guys and we're the bad guys in all of this, right? Like it's just
Who?
it's so bizarre and such a strange country that we live in right now.
Yeah.
It's a bad joke.
Yeah.
I think it would have been. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. It is
Inner
it's just
blog.
bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I guess the speaker is now like apologized and admitted that he doesn't understand history or all of the things.
Which is also not so great.
Well, he apologized. So I mean, we should just forgive him and forget
Yeah.
about it and sweep it under the rug.
Well,
right?
yeah, but now people are kind of worried that this is going to backfire on us because, like, if we're supposed to be combating the Nazis, or we've told everyone that Russia's claim about the Ukraine being Nazis is false,
Yeah.
but now we have just paraded a Ukrainian Nazi in front of everyone and applauded him, that is going to backfire in our war efforts to fight Russia because we've
Oh,
just
no.
reinforced their propaganda by being dumb.
For just $1 billion more,
Yeah.
you can help save a Ukrainian Nazi.
Absolutely.
But okay, so
Cue Sarah McLaughlin music again, but in German.
Yeah,
That-
whatever that is.
my
Would
brain
sound
just
way
exploded
angrier.
a little bit. I was like, I don't know how that would work out at all.
I mean, it would still sound like Sarah McLaughlin, but it'd be way angrier.
Yeah.
yeah, but she was
Picture
angsty
slow-
enough.
slow
Like I enjoy the
melodic
angst, but
metal, but with
Yeah, I
like a
don't
high
know.
pitched voice.
Blacker
think I
than the
can
black
handle
is
that.
black times infinity.
But yes, more dumb things, I guess. There was a I know, but like conflicting weird things and all of the things. There's a bit of a protest because we're defending democracy, right? So we had a big protest across the country
Ooh,
yeah.
this week.
thankfully
I
it didn't
didn't even
involve
get
any
invited.
horns.
Yeah, the Million People March for Children was happening across the country this week.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know what this was all about, it was a big protest pushing back against much like some of the other stuff we talked about, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, with the school's policy for trans issues, where they're going to not inform parents about pronoun choices and all kinds of other stuff where they are. Well, I guess
Well-
on the one side, they are alleging that the school is pushing this ideology onto
Yes.
the children.
Well,
The-
in the form of sexual education starting at a very young age.
Yes, they're
Yeah.
pushing the ideology and over sexualizing children. The other side of it is saying that we need to protect the trans kids and do all of this. And if they tell their, or if they're outed to their parents, that could cause problems. So that was the big debate, really.
As
But there
opposed
was,
if they're outed to everyone they go to school with.
So
I-
here's
Well,
the thing.
I don't
school, they can't get
understand the-
bullied for it.
but this in school, everyone's
But at home
indoctrinate-
they
yeah.
can. Okay, I
Yeah.
see what. Okay.
The-
So-
like that's what they're getting
Yeah,
at least. That's
that's
their
what they're
assumption,
saying.
right? Like,
But here's
you're
the
gonna get
thing.
told.
Is
Because
that,
everyone's indoctrinated, so they wouldn't dare bully them in school
well,
anymore.
that's the problem, is that here's the problem that I see, is that there is no reason why you cannot do both. Like, protecting children from being bullied at school and being bullied at home has been a thing that people have done
Yeah.
for a very
It's-
long time. But why does it have to be both? Like,
How hard
either
would I have to bully them in order to get them to join an SS division?
I don't think you have to. They just join voluntarily.
Yeah.
At least in Ukraine, they do.
Yeah, I was like,
And
I
then
don't
50
know.
years, like 60, 70 years from now, they can talk in parliament of
Yeah.
another country and get a standing ovation twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the point, though, is that it's like they're making a giant problem out of nothing. Like, number one, everybody has been saying, you talk to teachers, I shouldn't say, everybody or everything, but you talk to
That's
teachers
all
and they
right.
talk about
Paint with
how
broad brushes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not great though, because again, this
roller.
is
No.
my opinion and what I perceive. But essentially, schools are understaffed. That's what they've been telling us, right?
Well, just
But
like
yet-
hospitals and
Yeah,
doctors' offices.
But here's
and
the thing, though, is that what
DMV
they're
and-
doing,
It's weird that
Is-
they're all government things.
I know, right? But then they're trying to
Yeah.
take away the parenting ability of parents and putting it on themselves. And this
Yeah.
is the problem, right?
So I think there's a difference between educators being able to do the education thing and the education system being able to do the indoctrination thing.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
these are overlapping, but not perfectly
Ish.
overlapping
Yeah.
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 fuzzy
Well,
circles.
It's
Yeah.
that we don't have time to do all of the medical things, but we have time to do the dancing TikToks. But we're going
Yeah.
to complain
We don't
about
have
not having
time
the.
to
Yeah.
we don't have time to actually do like differential diagnostics and figure out your problem, but we can offer you assistance in dying if you'd like us
Yeah.
to kill you.
Right. But this is the problem though, right? Is that, and then parents that are like, and this is actually pretty interesting because protests when it comes to like children have always been, I think, really spearheaded a lot by Christian or religious groups, like, because they're very intentional. And I'm not saying other groups are not intentional, but there's a different ethos that like drives the
Yeah.
raising of children in some situations.
Yeah.
From the priest or
Okay, your Catholic trauma belongs in therapy. So
I mean, most Catholic trauma belongs to therapy.
Yeah.
It's not just Pierre's.
Yeah,
No,
there's
but-
definitely some guilt associated there. That's for
Yeah.
sure with those
Yeah.
Catholics.
yeah.
All right, my
but-
bad. Carry on, Liz.
No,
Sorry.
no, it's fine though. But now you're just seeing a lot of folks, like, also traditionally, like, homeschooling was done a lot by people of different faiths, and now that's just become such a widespread thing because folks are kind of understanding this whole control that the government is trying to issue over their children. And I mean, I think that sexualizing your children, I don't know what age is appropriate, but I think the fact that they're trying to put a barrier between parents and
Well,
children when it comes
yeah.
to any kind of conversation is extremely
Well,
detrimental.
it's such a slippery slope too.
Yes.
So I get that there might be some instances where if a child were to express even the slightest inclination that they might feel a certain way that is outside of a traditional value,
Mhm.
whatever that value is, that may not go over well at home. I
Sure.
completely get that.
Yeah.
But the slippery slope is we're not going to tell your parents about this. So,
Like,
okay,
and it's
so
not
what's
even,
the
we're not going to
next?
tell them. We're going to blatantly lie to them
Yeah.
if they call and ask us about it, or if they come and talk to us about it.
But then it's the like, okay, so what's the next thing that we're not going to tell the parents about? It should always be a policy that if the child is underage, that the parents are informed of it, because that is their
100%.
legal right in this country. And if we want to change that to be 16 or something like that, because like at 16 you can start to make some of your own choices
I mean,
legally.
you're dumb as fuck at 16 and emotional
yes.
as all get out, but
But you,
No, I'm
you can
not
go to the
saying that-
doctors and you
Yeah.
can tell the doctor, I don't want my parents to know about this, and the parents can be asked to leave the room.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do at
yes,
16.
So
Right?
right.
if they were
Whether
to
we
say
agree
that
with
at
it or
that
not, that's how it
point
stands
in
right now.
time, and I'm okay with that. Like at 16, you're allowed to make some decisions on your
I
own.
think you
because
should
you're-
start paying taxes though if you're making those decisions. You don't pay
Well,
taxes until you're 18. No.
Yeah,
If you're
but then
making certain decisions,
But then you don't
like,
get to
you're
make
paying
you
taxes.
don't get to make decisions
I mean,
if
if
you're
you're
on
working,
government
you're paying
subsidy
taxes,
because you
whatever
don't pay
age,
fucking
but-
taxes either.
But
Like we can go down that whole road.
if you're at 16 and you decide that you want to be whatever you want to be, and you don't want your parents to know about it,
Mhm.
at 16, I don't necessarily have an issue with that.
Yeah,
Because
me
you're an
neither.
adult.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same like you're saying. Like if I go to the doctor at 16 and I go, so I got the herpes, they're not going to call my parents.
Yeah, right.
That's fine. At 16, I don't think you should go, I'd like to cut my penis off.
I
No,
feel like that's
Can
appropriate
you
at
do
most
that?
ages. I can't think of a time where I've ever wanted that.
Right.
to be a
Like that
thing.
might be a thing like, okay,
not with
well,
that
like, this is
attitude, you
this is a
bigot.
little bit more serious, and maybe we do need to have some conversations with some adults and some things. But
yeah.
the problem is that policy though transfers throughout the school system. So now you've got kids in junior kindergarten that are quite young,
Yeah.
that now the school is
Well, it's integrating sexual ideology into the school place. So even if
Well,
it's
and
not blatant
even if it's not a
teaching-
sexual thing, they're still hiding things from parents on
Yes.
children that are quite young.
But
And
okay,
that's
so
the slippery slope problem. of
take
it.
this back to like 15, 20 years ago. If there was any kind of
non-issue. We didn't have this problem 20 years ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, we didn't.
But it's actually the opposite. If there was anybody talking about sex with, a 5-year-old in a school, or openly talking about their own gender preferences in a school at any age under or outside of health class, that person would either be removed from their place of authority, or they would be branded a
6 feet
weirdo, and everybody would stay away from them and be like, oh, that weird teacher. Right. But
Like
that
why
is
do we even
so
have to have
aggressively.
that thing? Refer to your teacher as teacher. That's it. That is a non-gender specific.
Oh, gosh.
term.
Well, it took me forever.
Because-
Like I learned this week that the reason I didn't know what Latinx meant. They call it Latinx because they
Yeah.
don't want to use gender identifying Latino or Latina.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Spanish is a genderized language.
Yeah.
Oh,
most
yeah, like,
Latin
There-
languages
but that's the
are
point
gendered.
though. But that's the point though, is that
Sounds like we're trying to make English-speaking people feel more comfortable.
If you want to get them really annoyed, call it Latinx. You're like, but that's what it says.
yeah, it's true. You're right. If you put emphasis on the right syllable, it's Latinx.
That they will get annoyed, and then
But
they'll
the
stop
whole-
asking you to
but
do
the-
that.
The whole thing is just
Yeah. It's
it's
insane. But-
it's very controlling. It's very indoctrinal
Well,
in terms
and
of like,
it's-
okay, so we all did weird shit when we still probably all do weird
Mm.
shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we did like weird, awkward, like
So you've been
teenage-
drinking at our trailer too.
No, I have not had the pleasure or curse
Oh.
yet. So
Welcome anytime, Liz.
oh, well, thank you. No, but pretty much there is like everybody does like weird things when you're, preteen or adolescent growing up. It's you're navigating through life and it's complicated. And the biggest decisions that you're gonna make are like what clothes you wear, because that's what tells that you're cool, or what games you play or what books you read or things like that. And now there's just this added layer of deceit and complexity that I remember that whether I acknowledged it at the time or not, like coming home and having a stable family life was the only thing that was constant in my life. right? Because your emotions are up and down, your
Well,
social
you're
systems are
going through
complex. Like it's
puberty
wild.
and hormones and all of the
Yeah.
things that are making you body and your brain go crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure most of us can probably agree that we have done many things that most of us are probably thankful we never got caught being young
yes,
that could have affected.
But it was not permanent as well. And like a
No.
lot of the things that we didn't like create
Yeah.
separation in our families. Like it was non-permanent damage. Like obviously there was things that, you know, we all did that, you know, could have been catastrophic, or some of them were, but
sure.
you know,
But-
for the most part,
But this is the thing. So like we had those things where like, okay, we'll just go back to this. So like if in our time when we were all in school, you know, this is all the stuff that we would have told our parents, or our parents would have been told about all of this, and like we may have been bullied for it.
yeah.
Removing this
100%.
is just going to have it happen on the other side of the issue,
Hmm.
right? Like, so it's not going to eliminate bullying. It's not going to eliminate hostility at home. It's just going to shift it from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to get the same amount of bullying in school. It's just going to be on something else. So instead of getting bullied because you're trans, you're going to get bullied because you're not, or something like that. The problem is that kids are still getting bullied. What's being done to stop that? Nothing,
Nothing.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
So now you're going to not tell parents about this, but like, what happens when they do find out? What happens when the school finds out? Doesn't say anything about any of that. Like, it's all going to just happen one way or another, and it's probably going to happen in more or less the same percentages, because a certain percentage of the population is just shitty,
Yeah.
and they're always going to act in a stupid way, in an unkind way. But nothing we're doing is making anybody any better or anyone any safer. So we don't need to do this. We absolutely should tell parents about things, especially
Yeah.
when it's on young children. And if somebody feels this way as a child and they're being bullied, I don't care if they feel that they are trans or not trans, or they're confused or whatever. If they're being bullied, that shouldn't fucking happen.
No, exactly.
I don't care.
And this is the thing,
Stop
is that
the problem.
yes, stop the problem. But we have one of the biggest like cause and effect of this whole situation is that you're creating an absolute. It's either like you have
Yeah.
to be on board with this, or you cannot, or you
Absolutely.
hate it. There's no like, hey, I don't necessarily think that I think that this is a phase in your life. I don't necessarily think that this is like your reality
Well,
forever.
and
I don't really agree with this, but I'm going to love you and I'm going to care for you and
Yeah.
I'm going to support you. There's none of that. You can't really do that. And
No.
if there is that group of people, they are not big or loud. So all you hear is this one group of people that's like, parental rights should be honored. And this other group of people is like, well, if you believe in that, then you must be transphobic and you hate them.
Yeah.
And like looking at
Like,
the news
no.
and reading those articles, it's talking about how Antifa came in and, you know, the Toronto police didn't do anything about it, or
Yeah.
very little. And they were fairly violent. Like the one photo just like shows a guy's head all banged up. And the people that actually stopped Antifa was just like, what
Yeah,
did they call
right.
them? The or
Well-
the anti-gender
Yeah.
ideology protesters. And it's like, that is such a load of crap, because the people that are there,
just regular
just-
people.
they're
Yeah.
parents that are like, hey, we want to say what our kids are being taught.
Yeah.
And-
So I mean, that's the thing. So we get, you know, obviously, like there are people on both sides of this. So there was a protest and a counter protest that were happening,
Yeah.
and a bunch of people on both sides of this. So clearly, people are divided on this issue,
For sure. For sure.
right?
Yeah.
But if you look, so then Trudeau and Singh both
Ugh.
get up and denounce this hateful million-person march.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about they were going to perform on stage. With
No,
each other.
they were too busy performing things on Zelensky. But they both get up and they denounce this, like, despite the fact that they're for democracy and ability to
that's-
protest
yeah.
and do all of the things that
They
they've
don't
all
actually
said
believe that,
recently.
though.
Here they are again, denouncing what is supposed to be a peaceful protest,
Mhm.
but when violence does erupt, and I'm not saying that were not people on the pro parental rights side
Yeah,
that
yeah,
were not good people and were maybe going a little bit far. There absolutely were, but I, unlike the politicians, don't paint a whole crowd with the same brush. I'm willing to
Yeah.
go, there were some individuals there that were shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like on the other side of it, there were probably mostly good people with a handful of
both sides.
shitty ones, right? That are the
On both
Antifa
sides.
fucks. Yeah.
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 I'm
Well,
not
the
saying-
one
Both
guy
sides
that
probably
got
had
us-
good people.
yeah.
Whether I
But-
want to have a beer with them in a conversation is beside the points, but
Well, yeah, so-
genuinely they probably mean well, even though me
Yeah.
and Deb might have a different
We
opinion.
disagree on some things, but whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how life is, and we need to learn how to do this. And as I've said many times, we need to have more difficult, uncomfortable conversations about this stuff so that we can learn to disagree, but in a civil
Yeah.
way. But like a violence thing does happen, and what happens? It's the pro trans side of it, for lack of a better term,
Pro
Yeah.
chaos.
and Antifa that's
Yeah.
lumped in with that. So Antifa has latched on to that side of the argument,
Yep.
and they go and punch this gentleman in the face. This happens to be Nick Alexander, the brother of Josh Alexander,
Yep.
the Save Canada guy. But they instigate the thing, and if you watch the videos and all of the things, the pro parents' rights side of the argument is up there, and these guys are of a Christian faith of some sort and fairly strongly,
Yep.
right? Just to paint a full picture, so that informs their attitudes and decisions and beliefs and all of that. They're up there and they believe that this is wrong, but they're being very polite about it. They are asking their own side and the other side to like calm down. He's actively trying to engage them in debate and saying, look, I'd like to have the conversation with you. Can we have the conversation? It doesn't happen.
We just talk.
He's assaulted.
He gets punched by the other side, and he's the one that gets dragged off by police and arrested.
Yep. It's insane.
Well, like it's because he's
Like-
bleeding on public property.
Yeah, like he clearly needs, I mean, I'm sure
Medical
he's
attention.
fine.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, but-
if I take off my like, drunk podcaster hat and put on my like first responder thing, I would be like, this guy requires some medical attention because
Yeah.
he's obviously got a wound to his head, which could be a concussion. There's some
Yeah.
blood. It is not life threatening, but it certainly needs to be addressed
Yeah, address.
in some
Like,
way, shape, or form to
Yeah.
determine if it is serious or not. But
you
no,
might
he
need a
gets
band-aid and
arrested.
an ice pack.
Yeah.
like-
Well,
And-
but the whole point of this is that, as people, like the three of us have, I don't know if everybody knows this, but we were all at the convoy at various points, right?
Oy.
And Pierre's still traumatized from all the people.
but that was
There were
just
so
people.
many fucking people.
And
Yeah.
being so close to politicians in general.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't wash it off. But that's the thing though, right? Is that there was no point that I felt unsafe because, and
Yep.
I as somebody who's been part of like that Christian circle that, growing up, we'd gone to like marches, we'd done some things, right? And obviously they were literally like sidewalk with signs
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
It's nothing it's very like anti-faith
Yep.
usually to be aggressive, right? I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
you're
people
just
get
looking-
riled up, but
Well, it's
more of a communication,
you're
right?
passionate about it, but yeah, you're not going to get violent because that
Yeah.
in and
No,
of itself
it's-
would be a
You
violation of your
You
beliefs.
just want to be present in the
Absolutely.
moment and prove
Yes.
the stance you take, opposition of yours.
Well, and
to your
sharing it,
faith
right?
is.
Like, and I think
Yeah,
this
like,
is
this
this is
is-
one of
yeah.
the things is that, like when we were in Ottawa, I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing, but anytime anybody got out of hand, there was a lot of people there to check said person or group of people, and
Yep.
not the police. The police were very hands off up
Oh,
until
yeah.
the very end, right?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
hands
And-
off until they
Exactly.
were hands on.
It was
and
like
not in a
I
good
know,
way.
and I was present at the hands on,
Yeah.
and it was petrifying.
Well,
And I have
and-
never been more fearful for my life. And that
Well,
sounds
and-
extremely dramatic, but like,
No, I agree. Like, so
Until
in
the
my
law was
experience,
involved.
From
yeah, but it
and
wasn't
so-
even the law that was involved. It was at some point, there was like this shift of understanding where it was like the people there, the ego kind of just took over, you know, oh, these
Yeah.
people can't be controlled. We're just going to crush them.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's like, okay, so the people, maybe they can't be controlled, but they're actually not doing harm. Right. And this is the thing. So the
Yeah, they
other-
don't need to be controlled.
But I will
Absolutely.
agree. So like I mean, when I was in Ottawa, everything like it was a big party. and
yeah,
everything
exactly.
was a fun time.
It was.
And I will agree. Like I did not feel unsafe at any point in time,
Right.
other than when I was sort of closer to, for lack of a better way of describing it, the front lines,
yeah.
where there was a very large, aggressive police presence. That's the
Absolutely.
only time that I felt,
Yep.
and even then, like I wouldn't
Because
say
you
that
were
I
there, I
felt
think the
the
day or
weekend,
so
the week
before.
before.
Yeah,
the
because
Yeah, we were-
you
yeah,
and
they
I
were
had
happened
or whatever.
conversations,
Yeah.
and you were
they
the
were- they- I
conversations
think
you
they
and I
were
had are
getting
the
ready
reason that
to-
I was okay going when I
They
did.
they were getting ready to do
Yeah.
the things, but they weren't going to do it on the weekend because I think they were hoping that like Sunday would roll around, the crowd would die down a little, and it did. And like,
Well, because
but-
it was Friday. I want to say, was it Friday morning or Saturday morning when we were totally kicked off
but-
of the
so
last weekend?
when I was
But-
there, but like the only time that I didn't feel, and I
Yeah.
felt safe the whole, like I was never worried when I was there,
Yeah.
but there was times where I was uneasy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the uneasy feeling was when you were around law
and that's
enforcement.
not when I was in the crowd of like thousands of
No.
people that were partying. It was when I was there on the streets, and it was like there's an
There's
armored
there's a-
vehicle and a bunch
And
of cops and all
so-
of
A
that.
gaggle of cops coming towards me.
But
That's when you
here's,
felt
I
uneasy.
would say that
But-
was the attitude of them though,
That too.
because I would say that as somebody who's been around firearms forever,
Oh yeah,
like, it's
fact
not
they
the
had guns
firearms
didn't bother
is
me.
not
It
the
was
nerve wracking part.
It was
It's
that
like
they
the
were sitting-
attitude and the dynamic of how they carried themselves.
especially
Like,
those ones in the brown uniforms with no name tapes
Yeah,
or
no,
anything.
you're like,
Those ones
who
were the
the
ones that
fuck
were
are
like,
you?
yeah, no,
Yes.
it's not that
Yeah.
they were there in like tactical gear
No,
with guns
not
that
at
really bugged
all.
me. It was the way that it was the posturing of that when they were there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if they're just there hanging out, doing a thing and doing like a protective detail, they're a little
Yeah,
bit
we're
like
we're just
they're-
here to make sure
Yeah,
shit
they're
doesn't hit the fan, right?
attentive,
yeah,
right?
for
They're
sure.
watching things, but they're not posturing like they're aggressive. In this one, there was a lot of posturing that they were being aggressive. But I did when I was at the Adamson barbecue thing
Yeah,
again.
yeah, that was
When the protest was going on and everyone was there, even when like they had like kicked the wall in and opened the door from the inside and people rushed into the restaurant, which was amazing
yeah
to
that
get
was
yeah.
stuff,
funny.
and like the cops were trying to stop them. Like during none of that did I feel unsafe. The
Sure.
only time that I felt unsafe was when the cops on horseback just rode into the crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
and those
full
horses
tilt,
are they mean business.
right? Like, you know, and they separated Angela and I, like they
Mm.
rode right between us. Like
Yeah.
that's how they rode into the crowd to disperse the crowd. So like it's a technique that works,
Yeah,
but that was the only time that I felt unsafe, and I was ready to throw fisticuffs if she
I
was
bet.
hurt.
yeah,
Luckily,
Right.
like I looked across the crowd and they had separated us by a good 20 plus feet, but I could see her and she was fine. But it took me almost a minute to find her in the crowd.
Oh,
Yeah.
And like, I'm not
brutal.
the kind of person that reacts instantly if I'm not like, I mean, if something hit me, I would have, but like
Yeah,
Yeah, just
I-
like, okay, you know, you back up.
assessing
Okay,
the
yep.
situation, like what do I need to do? Where is everything?
Yeah.
And you know, then I saw her and I calmed down and I was fine. But that was the only time where, and
Yeah.
it wasn't because of the crowd, it wasn't
But
because of the
it's-
protesters, it was the authorities that are the ones
Yes.
that made me feel
And-
unsafe. And, I'm
and-
not
and-
the all cops are bastards kind
No.
of guy.
no,
No.
me neither. I for sure grew
I-
up, and up until COVID, I absolutely was like civically minded and very
Yeah.
supportive of all the things. And now, you know, I know people that are resigning from the military because they're like, we won't work for
Well-
Justin Trudeau. We won't work under
Well,
Justin
yeah.
Trudeau's direction. You know,
Right.
I know
Yeah.
people that have
Well, yeah, it's
that have
it's-
some things to say about the policing side of it. And I also know that there's some police forces out there that had to concede some of their directives because they knew that their officers weren't going to carry them out because they were like, that's a little, that's too much, you know?
And-
And so it's easy to like, I don't know. It was a wild experience that forever changed me
But-
and
this
my
is the thing. So
perspective.
whenever we seem to have protests and there is, because they always get drawn along these lines, the left
Yeah.
and the right.
Mhm.
The right will be out there and be
Be peaceful.
protesting and be fine and like, yeah, might be some people that are inappropriate and
Douchey.
say some inappropriate things or display some inappropriate images, but they never seem to be violent.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, if that's the case, the person that's trying to be violent is usually some sort of a plant, and it's been proven that they're a plant trying to
Yeah.
instigate something in the crowd,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's the left that always just seems to get crazy and violent, and it's just like they have zero control over their emotions or their anything, like their faculties in general. They just like lash out.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that bothered me about this protest that happened the other day was you look at who starts getting involved. So you have the pro trans and hiding things from parents side of it, and then
Yeah.
Antifa joins them, and then not surprisingly though, but like CUPE joins them, and
Don't
this
know
is
what
where
that
I have
is.
a problem with that. So
Cool.
as an the teachers union and like the
Oh, okay,
Public-
that's what that is.
Oh, okay.
yeah public
like-
employees union.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have no like I much like you fully support the right for everyone to protest peacefully regardless
Absolutely.
of whether I agree with their position or not.
Yes.
And I wish more people would.
Yeah.
As long as they are peaceful.
Yeah.
that is a lost thing
And I think
that
that
will not happen
peaceful,
anymore.
Like it
But they
needs
should
to
be-
be.
Protesting as individuals.
Oh, I get what
Prote-
you're saying. So instead of coming under a banner of an organization.
I protest as myself. The minute that a union gets up there,
Oh
a
gosh, that's
union
such
is
a load of shit.
representing all of their members
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
who may not
I agree.
agree with that stance.
Mhm.
But now the union is getting up there, and now all of a sudden you may get people that are unsure of how they should feel about this. And
Well, because
In this, they
that brings
interview-
that brings in their livelihood.
yeah,
that brings
but that's
in-
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, now if you feel like if you're against this and you say something, you're going to get fired.
So yeah,
Yeah,
But it's
and
going to
I-
sway people and do all of the things that it shouldn't do.
Yeah. But I'm going to
Yeah.
say that like, so when I worked federal, very short period of time, very short period
My
of time,
my
less than a year.
condolences.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't awful. It was a really great experience and I enjoyed, like I worked in the agricultural side of things. So
Yeah, okay.
it was
It's not
interesting.
that bad.
No, it was interesting, but yeah, it was still
Yeah,
a government
Still horrible,
agency.
yeah.
And I still, participate, like I still had to be a member of PSAC. And
Yeah.
they showed up at the convoy too. Like there's a PSAC flag at the convoy. And
Yeah.
all I could think of was all the emails that I got right before that last Liberal election. And because the government believes in affirmative action on a hiring side of things and DEI and all that stuff, you've got a lot of folks that are not necessarily like politically aware of the nuances in the country and the history of the
Yeah.
politics. So you've got these unions that understand that if you get a conservative government or something other than liberal,
Yeah.
maybe even something other than NDP, you're going to see a lot of cuts to superfluous federal and provincial spending. So
Yeah,
they
which-
send out, like as a federal employee, I wasn't allowed to participate in protests. I mean, I did anyway, but I wasn't allowed to participate in protests.
But
And I
these
could-
unions,
Oh, but these unions are allowed to send out emails saying, don't vote conservative, you'll lose your job.
Yeah.
And that's, so I mean, for me,
Prove I
Which is
voted
wrong.
conservative.
it's no, but they're preemptively doing it. They're
No,
like,
No, but I mean-
they're not
preemptive-
saying they're going to fire you if you vote
No,
this
no.
way. What they're
They're
saying
just
is that
they're conditioning people that have
if-
no idea,
yeah,
and they're
Okay.
using like a manipulative
Okay.
threat, saying
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, if
Right.
the liberals don't get in, you know, there's
your
going to be
job's
job
going to get
cuts,
cut.
and you're
That's what
gonna
they're saying.
yeah."
It's not a direct
Okay.
threat. In
No.
that, like,
Okay,
Pierre,
I
if you
misunderstood
vote-
that.
If you vote conservative, we're firing you. It's if you vote conservative, they will
After
cut
all-
your
after-
job and you
Yeah.
will be let go.
Yeah,
You can
and
fire
it's not
me
your
after
job.
November
They're going to
2nd.
cut. They're
Yeah.
going to cut a bunch of people's, and you know, like all of that kind of
Yeah, and
stuff.
do you like it may
And-
not be you, but do you want to be responsible for your friend
Absolutely.
or your whatever
And-
losing their job and all of that? Like,
And part of me really does think that, you know, like the trans activists, the unions, all this stuff, like there's a huge percentage of them out there that have no idea what they're protesting because they've just been told like, hey,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
they're
go stand
homophobic,
in the
they're-
line.
but that was the thing. So like
transphobic, right?
if you watch some of the interviews that were happening at the counter protest,
Mhm.
the head of the QP union gets up and speaks. And it's like his name and his title and everything. So like he is using his clout. So he's
Yes.
not there as like
He-
Bob
He's
Smith,
using his statue.
individual. He is
Mhm.
using his clout as that position and that person to draw people to his cause. And like I don't fault him for it, but also
But
like
it's
that shouldn't be
it doesn't lack it lacks
Like-
integrity. But
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's,
I
but
don't
again,
fault him for it, but I just find
because
it a
everyone
little
everybody does it. But
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
have
but
a union,
but I think that that's
big one, especially one that is government workers union,
yes.
they should absolutely not be allowed to display any fucking thing that has
Yeah.
anything to do
Yeah.
with that at a protest. And there are people there with banners and flags and t-shirts
Absolutely.
and hats
And that's
and
my
all
thing.
that shit.
If you want
So-
to be out there as an individual person that believes a certain way, I'm down for that because I do
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
that it's good. The
I'm
problem,
not here associated with who I
Yes.
represent or what my job
Well-
title itself, right? Like
Well,
if
and it would
I'm
be
the
like-
representative of something, like I'm not here as a person of the leader of whatever.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, and-
these are
and-
my
and
personal
even then, like,
stances.
it's
And people need to understand the concept of separating, an
Yeah, but-
individual
even then,
compared
I'm
to what
okay
their
with
job
like
title
certain
is.
organizations. So like in the terms of like the truckers unions and stuff like that, I
that
believe
makes a lot of sense though.
they should
Yes.
they represent their people, and if all of their people are said we're against this, or the majority of the people
Yeah.
have said that, and
Yeah.
they are there and
Majority.
supporting their people, I agree with it. The problem is when you start getting into like government employee unions,
Yes.
government employee, like if like you said, if they're going to prevent you as a government employee
Mhm.
from protesting,
But then they're going to show up.
but the union can, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
I agree
And
with
especially
that
when
because it's a
some-
control measure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
They
not-
are, the government should be neutral in all things.
Absolutely. But
Right.
this is also the problem, right? We've got this layer of individuals who who don't really know what they're protesting for. So we
Yeah.
have that layer, right? People
Yeah.
like I bet you probably 50% of the folks, maybe even more, that were there with pride flags and trans
Right.
flags and all that stuff, just thought that they had to go out and support because there was a bunch of transphobic and homophobic
Well, just
people
like, yeah,
that
you-
were
you-
hating on them.
You
They
don't
probably
want to
had
cross
no
the,
idea what the concept of
you don't want to
what
cross
was
the
actually
picket
the
line,
issue.
right? Because then you
Absolutely.
become a scab and all of the
Yeah.
things, and no one will like you. This
absolutely.
becomes the same kind of thing where it's like, okay, it's not a picket line, but we've been called to action, and if I don't go and do the action
then I'm
without a
bad.
legitimate person, like legit, like
And I'm
Is,
gonna be honest.
is it okay to
though,
call
like,
it a sword fight?
I
I mean, if they both have swords, yes.
I'm gonna be fair though that like I think that a call to action is important. I think more people need to heed it.
Yes.
However, I think that there's such a focus on being right and winning and
Yeah.
fighting that you miss
Well-
the entire space that you need to learn about what it is that you're fighting for.
Yeah. And so yeah,
Right?
that's why
And
like if
Part of
you're a
that is the
member of the
dialogue
union,
though, right?
yeah.
So there's fight instead of dialogue occurring.
So
Yeah.
so we have a giant thing about this gender ideology and all these pansexual about people that like pots and pans. and all these other things.
Yes.
And if you don't do the things when they're 12 and they say, I want to be a boy and a girl, and it's causing mental health and suicide, we're all roughly the same age. Like what I never knew about this gender identity and transism and
That's because it hasn't
pansexual.
really been such a big deal
Yeah,
since
so
COVID.
so
Connect
exactly,
those
right?
dots.
So I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, okay, fine, we're preventing all these suicides from young people and this that, but like I don't know when this transition happened from when we were in
So,
school,
but the
and we
interesting
didn't
thing-
learn these things, but like it like how is this such a new thing
So
in the last,
here's-
like I graduated 16, 17, 18, 20, I don't fucking know how many years ago, but like that was not a thing. Like yeah, you had,
Yes.
you know, people that were gay, lesbian,
But that's, but
bisexual.
that's beyond. But that's beyond the point, though, right? Because
No, so
here's-
it's not, because a giant factor of them saying this gender ideology is it prevents people from going down certain paths that lead to
Yes.
suicide,
but
all
here's-
these things.
but that's a lie. That's already a lie.
That-
it
yeah,
has been
so that's what
proven
I'm
that
getting
there's
at.
like it has been proven that there is actually an increase in suicides coming from individuals who are
yeah,
gender
but I'm
divergent.
just
Well, I know
curious
this is
where
what
this
I'm-
crazy subject came from.
It's a control
because this
measure
was-
again. Like
So
I
this was
personally
not a
think it is.
thing
But,
when we
okay,
were in
so-
high school.
Well, it was. It just wasn't so common. And so
Yeah, I was
have
gonna
we
say,
have we have
everybody
we
was beat up or put underground.
right? And
Yeah.
so like that's so maybe
we should go back to that.
Well, but
Or
maybe
you
like
find it-
20, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, we were too far
Yes.
that way where we ignored the mental health side of things and the bullying
And just
side
like
of
killed
things.
people for being
And-
gay.
Yeah, that's wrong.
We
But-
should not kill them, but we should not force
But
it
that
down.
did
But
happen.
My
so that's
10-year-old's
that's
throat.
the problem though. So there were a number of people that were, you know, they said like, what is it, like 75% of trans people are going to commit suicide because they are not accepted and everything else. And that is horrible. Like
That
that
is.
people should never
Maybe.
feel that that is the option for them because they are not accepted. And if they truly feel the way that they feel, because I do think that there are some people that do
Yeah, but that's gender dysphoria. That has
Yeah.
been in the DSM
they
forever.
do
That-
they do
that's-
feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel horrible for people that can't reconcile that in some way and feel that that is the option for them because that is
Yeah.
tragic. That is absolutely tragic and
I will
and
agree
even
with that.
worse when it is children. Like
Yeah.
children should not ever think that that is an option. It
But-
shouldn't even be plausible in their
So
mind.
here's my
But
yeah.
yeah, we've pushed it so
To the
far
other
now that we're now getting, okay, so maybe we have saved the people from doing that now feel 100% accepted, except we've
Yeah.
pushed it so far to the other way now that people that weren't that are now being
pushed into being
confused
that. Or
and
confused.
become that and now regret doing that and now feel like they have to do the thing to be the thing, but now regret doing the thing and end up committing suicide because
Do you think
they don't feel comfortable in their own
Yeah.
skin anymore. So we're having the same problem, but from the other side. So
And
it's just we need to
Right,
find
and
that
do you think-
balance.
do you think that we make killing do you think we make dying too accessible? Like we talk about it a lot in TV and media and stuff like that.
Well,
I
it
would say that
depends. Are you
Canada
are
Canada
you a
makes it
veteran?
really
I think
accessible because you
Yeah.
know like there's
yeah, I-
there's MAID, there's
So-
you know like so I'm just wondering like
I think
and
in a
I
lot
say
of
that
ways
truly.
we have been we've lost touch with what death is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at civilizations going back in time, they were confronted with their, you know, mortality in a much more visceral way daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
so-
90% of the time you could put honor behind it.
Yeah.
Well, but like
Um,
you saw like going back to like medieval times, the plagues rolled through. So like you'd see people fucking dying in the streets. There was people sword fighting and all like violence and all kinds of things. So like those people were fully aware of their mortality,
Yeah.
which
they,
made them
they knew the
maybe
term fuck around and find out.
respect
Yes.
it more.
Yeah.
So by removing ourselves from actual death, I think we have lost something.
Mhm.
But then you replace that with the media stuff bombarding you with all of that as well,
Yeah.
and glorifying some of that.
Well, and
and,
even
like,
our
it
government
makes
is
it
like,
even
oh, hey,
even worse, and then doing this. So I might yes and no. Like we've become desensitized to it, but we've also been removed from it. So we're not.
yeah. Well, we've lost the gravitas of it, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
and
like
that's
I do agree with that. I was actually just talking to my dad about, just like death, as everybody gets a little bit older. And I don't know, I grew up in a world where we believe in, heaven and hell, and we believe in that things happen
Yeah.
afterwards. And it kind of
Yeah.
takes the kick out of death. I think when
But
you
it's-
believe in an afterlife, you tend to kind of see that, hey, this is
there's
temporary.
there's a
Yeah.
greater aspiration,
And there's
all of
there's
the
a little bit of
things, and-
lack of a fear thing too. And again, growing up in a Christian home,
yeah.
we heard
But-
like some of the founding and foundational people in the social movements of the world were missionaries. Okay, you call it British colonialism, I don't give a shit, but they're missionaries that went into countries that literally are still to this day have cannibalistic tribes, and went in and were some of the first advocates for against human trafficking and against
Yeah.
and brought healthcare and different things to these
Clean drinking
wild and
water,
outrageous
whatever,
places.
yeah.
Yeah, and wild and outrageous places, and most of them died. Most of them are
Yeah.
like, but you know what? I have a cause. I have
but
an ethos that
that's-
drives me.
and
And
that's it's the weird thing, that as we become more civilized, we become
Yeah.
less civil. Because like when
Yes.
it was very tribal, and like the whole family would be living in a hut together,
Mhm.
like you had violence and sex right in front of your face. Because
Yeah.
like I don't think that mom and dad were worried about the kids watching or hearing when we all lived in one hut and they were making your brother or sister, right?
Yeah,
weren't
I don't think it
necessarily,
was
like,
part of a
Out
thing.
in the open. They
Yeah,
weren't like inviting you to join it, but like it was a thing that was happening
it
over
was
there.
part of life. It was
And
part
you
of
were-
life.
you were-
You didn't
Oh.
eat your supper's stew while they were doing that.
Yeah, but like it was a
What?
thing that
No.
was happening there,
Yeah.
and you were aware that those things were happening. So like you were
But it was
Not
like
necessarily in the right way, but-
desensationalized. Like
Yeah.
it was not
exposed
made
to it and
yeah,
educated about
in a
this is
very
the part of life,
normal way.
and death would have been the same
Yeah.
way.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, death
was
was
very-
very real ritualistic, like everywhere else. And now
But
in
you
I don't know if
see
it's
it-
the Western world or something, but now, it's hard people have
But
a
I-
hard time finding time going to a friggin' funeral.
Yeah, and I think
you
that
know?
like being removed from that, and I'm certainly not advocating for parents having sex in front of their children.
No.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
But being removed from all of that has made changes on the way that we view things.
Yes, agreed.
And that has
And I
not
mean-
necessarily gone the best way. And that's why you look at like all kinds of weird things, like hangups that Western civilization has on both death and sex.
Yeah.
And that like
It's true.
it's completely screwed us up and changed the way that we do things, and we do things wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right
It's-
way is. I wish that I did, because that would be so much easier, but what we're doing is wrong, and we need to try to fix that. But like this is not the way, I don't
Yeah.
think.
No.
And getting these people there, and like I said, like these unions, like I have no problem with the individuals being there, but if they're going to tell you that as an employee that is represented by this union, you can't be there, the unions can't be there,
Yeah.
they shouldn't do that. And if you're absolutely in a government thing, you shouldn't be there at all. And the government union should absolutely not be there, because now they're taking a side on something. The government represents the people. The people might have multiple opinions on an issue. They need to be neutral in all things.
Yeah.
shouldn't
Unless
be
you
there.
have 51% of all the people,
They should treat
then you can be
everybody
there. Yep.
exactly the same. But again, like, the next little article here I have about this is that like one of the union offices, has reported that a hate crime was committed, and they're speaking out about all of this stuff and everything else. And
I'm looking at these stickers that were left there, and all it says is keep gender politics out of schools, hands off our kids.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that there's
And
no
those are the
accountability.
only
Like they showed up. They
two-
showed up.
Two
in force.
issues that I'm saying, like the two statements that are there and they plastered all over the window of the local union office. What of those sounds hateful?
But this is the point, is that they're fabricating shit. This is like
Yeah.
1984 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like it blows my mind how I hope that people go and read that book or
Yeah.
whatever, because I think it would shake some people. Or truly think. And
Oh, yeah.
follow that up by Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Your life will
But
be
it's just
changed in terms of social
it's crazy.
politics.
They're saying that like keep your gender politics out of my school and keep your hands off my kids is anti-trans and I hate
But this
crime
is
and
the
everything. You're
point,
like,
though,
no,
is that when we went to school, if anybody actually did that shit, they would be, like ostracized. They would be thought of as the weird teacher, if not fired. Like,
oh yeah, like there were definitely some teachers in my school that like I didn't really have to worry about it, but there was definitely it was more teachers and females that was a
Yeah.
concern rather than like teachers and young boys, although that seems to be the new threat. And
yeah.
even that, like I don't think is
Like, stop talking. There's some
represented in its true percentages. Like it is obviously a thing that is a concern and seems to be more of a concern, but I still think the percentage of those things are like way smaller than it makes it sound, and that
I
like
know.
people's fears of those things are like way greater than the actual
But
representation.
but
But
that
you
is
should
something
still-
that
Consider it.
that is something that COVID taught us all, though, is that we can be managed by fear. Like that's literally what the
absolutely.
pandemic did.
100%.
Is like made
100%.
everybody afraid of their own shadow,
like,
to the
I
point that they
mean-
didn't leave their houses.
Yeah.
You were terrified your neighbor was having a get
Or,
together and you
well,
would call on your fucking neighbor.
I
Like,
do
that's
have
what
to
society
say,
has come to.
I do have to say, I am so like, I feel so blessed and just totally jazzed to have been part of the trucker convoy, because not only was everybody that participated in that I saw, like just badass humans that just showed up in force and did it with such class. I will
Yep.
say that, as much as there was, obviously jokesters and things like that,
Yeah,
like they
but
did it
that's-
all with such class. The internal responsibility and the internal infrastructure that was created is astounding. But on top of that, we look at like how there was so much put against them. Oh, you can't donate money because GoFundMe is gonna
Yeah.
fuck around with that.
Well-
So then, okay, we're gonna do Give, Send, Go. Well, then that was a problem.
Yep.
And then everybody that donated got
was just
doxxed. I got the link that showed everybody in my area that
Yeah.
donated and their
Oh, yeah.
IP addresses.
Yeah,
And I was
my
like-
physical address was on there.
Yeah, that's insane.
Did
Well,
you
it was
make
like
more
a pin
friends
on a
due to
calendar.
that list?
Well, my sister was like, yeah, so the kids and I are going to try and write thank you cards to everybody in our area,
That's awesome.
because I was like, but did that stop anybody? No, there was like a huge doubling down and it became such an international phenomenon. Like I'm still listening to podcasts in the States that are talking about, like even Joe Rogan, like he's just
Yeah.
the most well-known. He talks
Wow.
about what an ass Justin Trudeau is.
Well, look at what's
And how
happening
he
with
handled
Russell
that.
Brand right now.
Oh my gosh, that's insanity. And he called it. He called it.
They're trying and he certainly has had his issues with drugs and womanizing and all of the things in the past, but that
And
didn't
he's been
seem
pretty
to,
open about that, though.
but it never seemed to be an issue
I know.
until now. So not like several years ago when everyone was going after Weinstein and all of the
Yeah.
other shitty Hollywood people that deserve it.
Yeah.
It's now.
Yeah.
They let him sit for so long until the point where he starts calling them on their bullshit and outing
Well,
it.
and becoming a force, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point, is
But
that
that's the
that's
thing.
the
Where was
rallying
that-
force, right?
Where was that like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago when
I
that
know.
was the popular thing? So like that's to me, like if it had happened then, I'd be like, okay, like it's I don't know, I don't want to say true per se, because I still think that some people were railroaded, but like I'd
For
be
sure.
more willing to believe it if it came out at the
Yes.
same time when all of that was going on, as opposed to now.
I know.
Yeah.
He's
Well, and this is the thing, like
But-
anything that I hear now, and I I used to be afraid of like, I don't know, I guess social, what is it called? Response. I don't want to say responsibility, but a little bit of social
Yeah.
shaming, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean,
You know, I was cognizant of that. And now, like after the convoy, I'm like, fuck you, I'll get arrested.
Well, I think we all realize just like when you feel alone and you're the only one that feels this way, you don't feel so empowered, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna do your thing and you're gonna like maybe go a little bit outside of your comfort zone and all of that. But when
Yep.
you have taken part in something that was so massive like this
and
and made
inspiring.
you feel like you belonged and that there was not just 5 or 6 of you that felt the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just get together on Monday nights, get drunk, and do a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it was nice.
you know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just the tens of people that listen to our show that feel the same way. And we love all of you, every single one of you.
All 10 of you.
Yes.
Except for the 10.
Yeah, except for you, Chris. Just kidding. I love you too.
Yeah.
It was not even hundreds or thousands, but like 1 million plus people.
Yeah, it
that
was insane.
all felt the same way and came together, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
People came together in this country to support one another
Yeah,
in-
we can't do that
in
with
so
politics.
many different
oh,
ways that it was amazing to be part of that.
Yeah, it was-
Absolutely amazing. Even in the minute way that I was part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't consider anything that I did in any of this even remotely incredible or amazing or contributing to anything, but just being like this much involved in it felt
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, it did. Felt
And
like you were part of
supported.
something, and
Because
it
we
was
were.
a worthy cause. It's so funny, actually. I was at a wedding this past weekend. My cousin got married, and him and his
Hitting
now
all the
wife.
weddings, eh?
I know. Yes. Him and his now wife were 2 of my cousins that went, well, he's my cousin, she's not. Let's not get
She's
this
now, sort of.
confused.
If they're
Yeah.
both your cousins,
Yeah.
I was like, I have more
Let's
questions.
not get
here.
this confused here. No, but our other cousin lives up in the Canada area. So we all like went up the weekend that the convoy came down. Well, let me tell you, I was talking to the bride on Saturday, and she's like, yeah, we had to take down our fuck Trudeau flag for the wedding because their wedding was on their front lawn. But
That's fair.
Why?
They put up a white one instead of the black one, right? Just 'cause
well,
it'd
no, actually, their officiant, their pastor, they had it right in their vows that they are proud members of the small fringe minority.
be amazing.
And I was like, yeah.
Then why'd they
yeah.
have to
But-
take the flag down?
Because they didn't want it in the photos.
Yeah. It's
I was
not
like,
that they
that's
had
fair.
to, they made a personal choice,
Okay.
Yeah.
which
Okay.
I can respect.
Them making
that,
a personal
Yeah.
choice, 100%.
yeah.
But
Which is
Oh
what
no,
the
they
whole thing
didn't.
was
No,
about.
they didn't like mandate have to. No, and
No,
like
no.
I mean,
okay,
everybody
they just
that
didn't want
was
it in the
there-
background.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
But I mean,
I
they
can
had it
Get
like,
behind that.
you know, their business is on their property, and they fly that proud, and you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
It's-
just,
But-
yeah,
Yeah, I can get behind them choosing. Like, don't get me wrong, I want to support that, but I might not want it in that picture of my special day. I
Yeah.
can get
Oh
behind.
yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
not the biggest
100%.
fan. I'm not the hugest fan of that, but it was very fascinating. Like I've been going through some of the footage that I took, like the whole first and second day that I was there. You know, I was like asking people like, why are you here? And that kind of thing. And it's just really interesting. And the part that kind of hits me is that when I look at things like this protest that happened this past week, and when I think about, you know, like the direction that our government is taking and what's happening, just in terms of society in general, like I really crave what was in Ottawa during the convoy, because we used to have that in our communities.
Yeah.
Where the community would get together and do like barbecues and fairs and, you know, just things, right? And now that doesn't really happen anymore because we've been divided quite well.
Well, but it's
Well, no,
it's
so
all
the
of it. It's
fairs-
globalization. It's all of the things.
Yeah.
It's lack of
I
community.
and I have
it's
I will say I have zero desire to hang out with some of the
But-
people that I used to be able
that's-
to, because now when you know them on a different level where you're like, oh, your dogma is flawed. Like I just don't agree on such a principled level with this. Like, and that is maybe the issue, is that, you know, everything is now dogma.
well,
right?
But I mean, like everybody should have their line, right? Their line
Yeah,
in the sand,
for
right?
sure.
Like
I agree with that.
this is, and again, where we need to go back to better, closer, smaller knit communities, tribal
tribalism. I'm
things,
down for tribalism.
right? Because then you get to police that in a way where it's like, okay, like,
Like,
and
I do
maybe
think
not to the
it's-
point where we're like, yeah, so Jim, we all think that blue houses are the best houses and you've
Yeah.
got a red
But
house,
that
so we're
is-
gonna murder you.
So you
Like
mean an
that's no,
HOA?
that's too far,
That's like a condo committee or an HOA that
Yeah.
you're talking about.
right? Like
Um,
that's excessive, but like the community polices the behavior through social ways.
Yes. Yes.
And if you
absolutely.
don't fit in, like they're not necessarily going to come and like beat you with a sack full of doorknobs in the middle of the night. They're going to use the social pressure to force you to move out or to adopt their ways.
Yeah. And I mean, I think
And-
that there's downsides to it all. Like historically, that has also happened. And we've seen some things that, you know, in hindsight, we don't like. But it's kind of
But-
when you look at social trends and like cultural movements and different things like that, you kind of have to look at it from the take of like, what is the least worst?
Well, exactly. And
Right?
so like, sure, like if you get too far into this, you can get guys
Yes,
like Hitler.
absolutely.
Absolutely. You can get guys like Hitler.
Yep.
You could also get guys like Stalin
Trudeau.
and all of those things. But like, here's the thing. But that's my point. Is like, so when we were doing things more tribal and getting swept up into things, like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so the Hitler thing happened and it was really, really bad. But look at what we're dealing with now. And I'm certainly
Yeah.
not going to try to draw comparisons on
I mean,
some
we did-
levels between
we did have
Hitler-
a guy. We did have a guy speak in Parliament.
Yeah, they did applaud him and everything, but I'm not, I'm certainly not
Yes.
going to try apply like atrocity levels to
No.
Trudeau,
no.
but like
Not yet.
the type of attitude and the dictatorship
Yes.
and everything,
Well, and
and the
Hitler-
control and all of that.
that's the
is-
thing, is that Hitler started as a social phenomenon to a needy people, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's not that they are, you know, and I wouldn't even say that, you know, Justin Trudeau is, I don't want to say despotic. I like, you know, there's a lot of terminology that you could use to describe him and his leadership. I'm not gonna say that per se, but there is definitely some markers that indicate that his behavior could follow along the lines of some people that went to really dark places.
Yeah.
And without the proper social checks and you
And-
know, that sort
and
of thing,
is-
then we've got a problem. And I
Well, and
don't
that's the
know
thing, and is
how
it
that's
like-
going to work because society is super shitty.
Yeah, and is it
So, like, they're
lack
not
of, is it
checking
lack of
things.
tribalism that has kept him in check, or is it just that like we have better social checks and balances now, and that maybe some actual tribalism would bring that down even more if we were to apply those social checks and
Well,
balances
I-
to tribalism? I
As-
don't know.
As somebody, Gavin, who's like, you know, in the, and even you, Pierre, like you're in the leadership part, you have a leadership role in your company. Okay. So, but Gavin, you've gone to school for some of this stuff. So you
Sure.
kind of know like the fact that, well, okay. So from my perspective, I have seen a lot of people struggle to be critical thinkers unless
Oh.
the government tells them what to do. Like
Yes.
this is the whole, you know, like
Yeah.
let's talk about
Oh,
health
yeah.
and safety in the workplace, okay? That's a great example. If the government's not telling you to do it,
I'm not going to do it.
you're not going to do
You're
it,
good.
or you're going to
You can
like
do it, or you
yeah,
can
exactly.
do it.
There's not really like a self-regulation, like a critical
Yeah.
thought that says like, hey,
Yeah.
what's the consequence of not or doing?
Yeah, I
of
wear
this,
my
right?
my safety harness because I'm told to wear my safety harness,
Yes.
not because
like,
it's
hey,
the
my
smart
back
thing
could
to
be
do.
broken. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not a consequence system. And part of me thinks that that is what has happened, is that we don't have
Oh yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
critical thought that's
We-
going on. So
Oh,
we now have
it's-
like a more robotic system.
we've been coddled for too long, and
Absolutely,
the
and-
things that have become like that were
So
common
there's
sense. So we made a rule or
consequences.
regulation to
Yes.
make it a thing because some people are dumb and don't listen.
Yeah.
Has now made us all dumb because we don't understand why the rule is in place. We just
Right.
follow the rule.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do think that is what has impacted, our ability to maintain those checks and balances within our own governance as well,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
But yeah, I don't
things that
think
we
that
just
yeah,
don't have, because we believe that the government is the know-all,
Well, and
right?
that's so moving away from tribalism certainly hasn't stopped shitty leaders from coming into power. I
Right.
think it's
Because
the other checks and balances that have
Well-
limited their power, that if we had those back then, or we had figured that shit out,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, and there's definitely some interesting things, and I could talk about this forever.
We should
but
probably wrap it up though,
I
'cause,
am, I was gonna say I am fading fast.
yeah. All right. Well,
So
Liz, where can people find you when you're not getting riled up on the internet?
I don't want you to come and find me if I'm not getting riled up on the internet.
That's fair. No, that is your choice. That is your freedom of choice, Liz, and I respect that.
No, thank you, Gavin. I appreciate the
Yeah,
respect.
And you know
Yeah.
what? We will not have a protest for
Yeah.
or against it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You just
Yeah.
enjoy.
Also, I
But
mean, if you
I
decide to
support
come
your
and
right
protest, like,
to protest it or
Oh,
not
thank you.
protest it. Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Pierre,
you.
where can people find you on the internet? If you
Uh,
want people to find you on the internet.
Off the wall customizing, as you can tell from the weird background behind me. But we are shutting down company temporarily until we move. So like send some emails if you want some stuff. We've got the laser engraver going, t-shirts, sweaters, all that stuff. Or you can find me Sunday nights talking, being prepared for most of the shit talking we do on Monday nights on the Coffee CPP, the Prepper podcast on used tubes and Bookface.
Excellent. I would say you could find Andrew, but he's already left. So the best place to find him right now is ragnartactical.ca. Use the code Patriot at checkout to save yourself some money. That's always nice. Purchase your tactical accessories and medical things while you still can from this country that is becoming less and less
Yeah.
of a real country every day. Also, don't forget that we have the Amazon affiliate link thing that you can buy some things, and it doesn't cost you anything, but if you use our referral link and use that to buy something, so just click the link and then go find whatever it is you want on Amazon. We get a percentage of that. It doesn't cost you extra. It costs
Question.
Amazon. Yes.
Is it,
That's Pete.
what was the website again?
Bigluau.biz, I believe, was the web one, was the one of them anyways. I don't know. It's in the
Yeah.
show notes.
No, so you said Canadian Patriot Podcast. No, you said
No,
Ragnarok Tactic.
RagnarokTactical.ca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Don't
a
worry, my
different
brain
one.
shut
Yeah.
off.
No, you're good. You're good. It's because we've pushed this one to the limits today. So yeah, you can use the Amazon thing and buy whatever you want. It doesn't cost you extra. Like I said, it takes a little bit out of Jeff Bezos' next penis rocket. So you're delaying him building penis rocket 2.0. If
Thank
you
you
buy,
for finally explaining that to me. I did not get it.
So enough people delay it. He's gonna have to
I
buy
get it.
Viagra
Yeah.
for it.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, or he'll cancel our affiliate link. But that's fine if that
Yeah.
happens. You can also find the show on Gilded. Andrew may or may not still answer your questions if you post them on the other thing. I can't remember what the other thing is, but I used it the other day and he called me a boomer.
Are you struggling because the show notes aren't in front of you?
No, I'm just
Was
trying to
it-
think of that. I'm looking at them right now. What was it? We haven't used it in a
Pigeon?
while. No, yeah, the
No.
pigeons, carrier pigeons. If you use those, no.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
and I know what you're talking about.
yeah, I can't think of the name, but whatever it was, you could still message people on there. It still exists, but don't use it. Just use Gilded occasionally. Apologies,
Discord?
Rod.
Is it
That's
Discord?
the one. That's
Yeah.
the one.
I had to
thought
look
we
on my
were off
phone for an
Discord.
app.
No, we're on Gilded. We switched
Yeah,
that
we're
like
on-
a year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on Gilded, not Discord. So that's
Yeah.
why, like,
No, but I may or may not have been drunk the other evening, and I posted a photo of me and Mr. Giltaka.
Oh,
and assured everybody that he would be on the show. But I think that was the problem why he couldn't make it on, is that I posted
you
on
got the wrong-
Discord instead of
Yeah.
Gilda.
that's
yeah.
fair.
And I think we're still
Makes
having
sense.
those technical issues right now, which is why he's not on the show again this evening.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that explains it.
it happens. But just to all our listeners there, remember, you are the small fringe minority.
It's unacceptable views.
Yeah, and strong and free, except when Trudeau's in power, then you're
Yeah.
not very free anyways. Hopefully you're still strong. Do your Patriot Challenge stuff.
Yeah.
And Trudeau's probably at the bottom.